So for our next ad campaign, we basically just thought, hey, why not just start marketing this stuff straight to 10-year-olds? I mean, if they catch us, they catch us, but we'll see how far it goes, and hopefully we can sell some alcohol along the way. Sure, some parents groups could get upset, especially if we go with our idea of moms serving their kids cranberry jack at snack time. But
in other news, a doomed rabbit will teach an 8-year-old a lesson about responsibility, and a torrent of soap issues from a wildly unexpected part of the dispenser. Well, that was it. It's all downhill from here, bud. For more, visit theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and you're invited. If you want to join us here, you can do that. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Joining you in the studio, it's Ian,
Matt, and Joa.
Lots to talk about in the news tonight, including some very bad Supreme Court decisions, which is usually what you get out of the Supreme Court. You know, usually you get 9 or 20 bad decisions for every one that's kind of okay. So we can talk about that. Plus, we're going to start in a different sort of court, and that is federal court, the lower level, which is where Kyle Rittenhouse is being tried out in, where's the trial actually being held? Kenosha, Wisconsin. And Matt, you've been following that case pretty closely. Mm-hmm. You told us a little bit about what had happened last week, and last week was the first few days, right, of the trial, and now it's a week later, and it's still going on. I believe prosecution has rested its case, and the defense actually called Kyle Rittenhouse to the stand, what was it, yesterday?
Yep.
This is a pretty unusual tactic for a defense to take. In a lot of cases, they don't want the defendant to get on the stand. Any thoughts on why they wanted to put him up there?
I'm not really sure what their strategy was there, but I can tell you the kid went into a full-blown, I mean, he was doing really good holding it all together, and then he started talking about when he was actually getting chased in the turn of events that ended up with him shooting people. Mm-hmm. And right when he started talking about how he was getting cornered and chasing, he's trying to find a place to go, there's nowhere to go, he just literally fell apart and started choking. He went into a full-blown like PTSD induced anxiety attack, and like when I watched it happen live, and I was just like, of course, the mainstream news is saying he acted it. Look, there's no way that was an act. There was no way he acted that out.
Gee, turns out actually taking other human lives
is traumatic to a normal person. Whether
they deserved it or not is horribly traumatic.
Completely. And he's a 17-year-old kid, 18-year-old kid when it happens. And
which is about as old as people going into the military, killing innocent people in the Middle East.
And they're all coming back screwed up, too. Right. So what do you know? Maybe it's not good to kill people, and you try to avoid it as much as possible. Unfortunately, in Kyle Rittenhouse's case, he's getting chased down the street by a bunch of psychos and doing his best to not appear to be opposing them, and not opposing
wasn't
them.
One of them like actual child rapist?
Yeah,
and
the one had 5 counts of child molestation.
Another one was like a domestic abuser.
Yep. Yeah.
I would say, like, thank you for your service for getting rid of at least one of them.
Take out the trash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically. And the kid's mother just lost it in the audience. She just could not hold it together. It was such a bad time. And that could have actually been, maybe the defense knew that was going to happen, so they wanted to put him up to actually let it happen, and
to show that he's actually a human being, not some
absolutely
sort of
and there was no
killer.
way that it was lost on the jury. So the jury looking onto that, and the mother and everybody reaching over to calm down the mother, and clearly lots of support in the courtroom, and that type of tactic. I don't think the defense really needed those types of tactics, because the prosecution is basically intentionally losing. Not intentionally. They just don't have
case.
They don't have a case, and they're struggling so hard to create something against them that it's making them look extreme and bad in the courtroom.
Yeah.
And
well, that's not a surprise.
Yeah, and on top of that, even the judge, very early on, the judge started getting fed up, and as time has worn on, I mean, the defense has asked, as of yesterday, that a mistrial with prejudice be put on the radar as a possible solution to the hijinks being put forward by the prosecution.
And that was because they brought up like facts that weren't, or evidence that wasn't attained by the judge. Is that what it was?
They started interjecting evidence that was not first run past the judge. In fact, they pretended not to know better, but the judge had already basically dismissed that evidence from being put forward in the beginning, and said, "No, this isn't viable evidence for this case." This
I think they call
nothing.
it attainable is what they use. But
yeah, and so then what that resulted in was the judge losing his mind, basically threw the jury out and said, "How dare you?" And even the defense attorney basically said, "Judge, this is a well-seasoned attorney that's prosecuting this case. He knows better. This is baloney. I can't believe this is being allowed. I don't know if he's trying to throw this case in the mistrial on purpose so he can get it retried in a different way or what, but I think you should I just advise the court to put a mistrial with prejudice on the radar just in case." And the judge was like, "I will take that under advisement." And just kind of like wow. And today,
and you've been watching this thing, right? Like,
yeah,
this is being
I had a lot of
streamed?
driving to do in the last 2 days, so I've been watching it in my car a lot as I'm driving. Today was just kind of more of the same, but the prosecutors kind of minding their P's and Q's, but it's clear that they're also losing really, really bad. It's not even a fair fight. This never should. I think the judge is angry that it ever came into his courtroom in the first place. An arrest in this case should not even have probably been made.
I think this is kind of connected with the other stories, is that anything that we're filming or anything that has been caught on film should be reviewed by police officers before they make an arrest. This is on them now. It's like, I think they should be losing, I think qualified immunity shouldn't exist at all, but the way that they act and they respond to these things, they could just be like, "Oh, I'm just going to take a look at this live footage real quick. Oh, yeah, he's self-defending." It would have been pretty obvious, and like they never should have made an arrest.
Clearly, what's going on, what was happening in that instant was absolutely obvious and clear. And
when you're saying that, I mean, it was clear to the people that watched the video, but the politicians and police are political, right? Like
correct.
They are political animals. The chief is usually politically appointed or elected, and the underlings do whatever the chief says.
Right.
So
They're
in this
robots.
case, wasn't Rittenhouse basically a sacrificial lamb in that, whoa, we got to stop, more riots from happening. Look, we arrested him.
Basically, yeah. Look, we're staving off the inevitable, and that's what they're still trying to do with this court case. Yeah.
Isn't that why they're putting it on public view? Because
it's the only reason. And
because
I
you
think,
you don't see public federal trials. Like I
live
can't even,
on TV.
I can't even get a audio recording device into a federal courthouse.
Right. And this has several different,
different angles, right?
Court TVs in there. Yeah. So that said, I think there may be something, not to be the big conspiracy theorist, but I think they're trying to make Wisconsin burn down completely again because unrest is good for power junkies.
Yeah, that's
when
true.
the people at the top have unrest, they have more control, and they have every soccer mom in the world going, "Oh my God, they threw a rock at my house! Turn us into a police state and take away my rights immediately, please." So, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. Never let a good crisis go to waste, said Rahm Emanuel.
Yeah.
Right? So,
and he was a city of Chicago mayor.
Yeah, he was also one of Obama's soldiers.
He was a Secretary of State.
Secretary of State, yeah.
Now, wasn't there a particular witness on the prosecution side that was one of the folks, I guess, that was shot at by Rittenhouse, but maybe didn't die?
Yeah, he had his arm shot half off.
Didn't this guy testify that he was actually raising a gun at Rittenhouse before Rittenhouse did anything about it, and like approaching him?
Yeah. So the guy basically
he admitted to being the aggressor.
Yes, he said he had his hands up, but then he pointed his gun down at Rittenhouse, and Rittenhouse shot him. And the prosecution was just like face palming, like,
oh my God, the memes out of that one.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't believe they did that to our case. Why did we put this idiot on the stand? And the guy's a total idiot.
Yeah.
He's a typical Antifa. I mean, he's not a rock scientist.
Wow.
And I don't want to come off like I'm, Kyle Rittenhouse is an idiot 17, 18-year-old kid. He's pie in the sky, thinks he's doing the right thing. He worships the cops. He's in
still.
I don't know. I don't know about.
The cops?
I'm kind of people that's a hard habit to break.
I know
for
he
people.
did. Yeah, I know he did. But
Now, after his homies with the badges hung him out to dry, I don't know. They clearly did not make, and also those cops can also just kick the can up the chain and say, well, we were ordered to make this. We didn't want to arrest Kyle, but we were forced to because it came down from the top.
Just doing our job.
Just doing our job. Just doing everything we're told because we're robots with no souls and no personalities. And I'm gonna go home and beat
we
my
got
wife.
more coming up here. The number 603-283-6160. You want to weigh in on the Rittenhouse trial or whatever else happens to be on your mind. You can take control of the airwaves here on Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. Join us. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 27th through July 3rd for the 6th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out for the first time in 2021. Fork Fest takes place the week after Pork Fest, but Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 27th through July 3rd. There's no better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest Forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there. Forkfest.party. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
is Free Talk Live, and phones are open here. If you want to join us, you can. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Free Talk Live is brought to you by Bitcoin.com, and that is where you can go to learn about cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. And now's a good time to do it. Bitcoin just hit another all-time high, I think yesterday or the day before that, like 68,000.
Did it really?
Almost 69. I think it was like 68.9, basically. Very, very close. Getting closer to 69, then 70, and then we're on our way to 100,000, I think.
These are still the early days. These are still the early days.
Yeah, so. I think they are. If you want to learn, but we can't predict the future. We don't know what's going to happen. But if you look at the past, things are looking pretty good, looking pretty bright for cryptocurrency. So go learn the basics. Hit Get Started at the top of the page over at Bitcoin.com, and you can watch the first introductory video there. It'll take about 3 minutes of your time. There are more videos should you wish to dig in deeper. You can do that there at Bitcoin.com. Plus, they've got the latest news headlines on their news site, updated every single day over at news.bitcoin.com. That's news.bitcoin.com. It's Ian, Matt, and Joa here in the studio tonight. We're talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial that is still going on. Apparently, defense is still calling witnesses. Are any other highlights from maybe the defense case so far, besides them calling Kyle Rittenhouse to the stand and him breaking down under the difficulties of recalling killing people?
The prosecution has brought forward like their professional forensic photograph and video analyst type people. And apparently it's common practice for them, in order to blow up a picture, like to make it bigger, some more visible, or a piece of video, is they'll blow it up and then they'll fill in some stuff with colors and try to accentuate shadows.
That doesn't
and
sound
things.
very honest.
And, well, it doesn't to me either. And apparently it's very common practice. It seems like there's a lot of artistic license that could go on into that, if you know what I mean, if they really wanted to. The defense was kind of jumping on that too. Problem to me, as far as I can see, it looks like that's common practice. So they're going to have a hard time fighting anything on that grounds, because it seems like that's another day at the office for these picture manipulators. Sure. And they're basically cops who are professional picture manipulators, and that's what they do in evidence cases. Is they'll take a photograph program, put the photo or video into it, blow it up, and then try to smooth it out. So one of the photos they're trying to say is Kyle Rittenhouse pointing his AR-15 at some people earlier on in the night, but it's so blurry that you can hardly tell that it's vaguely green on the top-ish with some vaguely skin tone-ish colors and a vaguely white possible cap with a vaguely dark shadow that could be a gun pointing in. So,
wow.
And it's like,
they're really reaching.
Yeah, they really, really, really are reaching. And the judge, to his credit, he's been fair and impartial, and he has not taken any crap that may have gone past a lot of other judges. And he seems to be not really a good old boy. He seems to be like a believer in law and order and justice and the court system and stuff. This doesn't appear to be like a Ross Ulbricht judge situation. Like that was a clearly corrupt owned judge. This doesn't appear to be that. A problem with this guy is he definitely Jesus definitely owes him $20 from way back when, and needs to make. So this guy's really old. And unfortunately, they had to try to explain what pixels were to him.
My God!
And he said, "Well, I don't. You're right. I don't necessarily understand the pickles." And
so don't explain to him NFT images.
Yeah. So he may have a little bit of that going, but to his credit, he got down off the stand, off the judge's perch, and came down and looked at some 4K, a giant 4K big screen television, and tried to take a closer look and understand what they were talking about. Oh, so they're coloring these parts in, and so they're trying to decide whether this stuff should be admitted into evidence now. And so the prosecution's still trying to put stuff into evidence. Like, guys, there was a time for that.
The case is over.
Yeah, what are you doing? But there's a lot of charges against the kid. That's what the system does. They don't charge you with a homicide or 2 or 3, they try just in case they lose it. They load it down. They try to find every single
charge him for not tying his shoes,
code, or you name the regulation that you may have crossed, and they're putting that on the list. And one way or the other, they're going to try to hang you.
You know, one thing they didn't get him for jaywalking.
They didn't get him for jaywalking.
Federal.
Oh, true.
But they did bring in things like that. He did admit to driving without a license because he had to go to work. And they made him say, "Oh, so you were just driving without a driver's license? You think you could just do that?"
Well, then he may face state charges.
Yeah,
it should have been like, "No, I was traveling."
Yeah, right. And then, the kid's like, "Well, I had to go to work. I had to go to work."
Yeah.
You know, so and you know when they're saying you have an AR-15 rifle, and they're trying to, they were talking about. The difference between hollow points, which he wasn't shooting hollow points, and they were talking about the damage of hollow points and how damaging they are, which
objection, relevance.
Total. But the problem is nobody in that courtroom understands what hollow points do, and there's between pistol hollow points and rifle hollow points, and the purpose of both is different. The purpose of a rifle hollow point is to make the bullet more accurate and stable in flight, due to aerodynamic properties caused by the hollowness of the point, whereas a hollow point pistol round is meant to mushroom and dump all of its mass and energy into wherever it hits, instead of continuing on like a full metal jacket might continue through the target and hurt somebody else.
Would you say it's fair to say that the vaporization of his bicep is because it was a short range?
Yeah. I'm sure that I bet there was still. I wouldn't doubt if there was some cauterization on that wound, considering how close range he was. That bullet came out, hit him just point blank.
Right.
So there's probably some fire coming out of that barrel.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's the blast more so than the bullet,
possibly
causing a lot more damage.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt. That's actually a good point. I mean, think about it. But yeah, I could see the bullet making a hole, and then the pressure from the actual barrel coming through after it and blowing, actually blowing some air in there too.
Makes sense.
But that was a nasty wound. I mean, that kid's arm fell in half at like above the wrist.
Is that the one that's still alive, or did he die?
He's still alive. He testified.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a clown. And he's the one that destroyed the prosecution. Trotted him up there, and then he destroyed the prosecution.
The prosecutor's face palming after he said it.
It was so epic.
Yeah, he basically admitted to being the aggressor in the situation, and
absolutely.
Kyle Rittenhouse was defending himself against him.
Yeah. Yep.
Like no question, no doubt about it from what he said.
Right. You're on the ground, someone's pointing a handgun at you, and I have an AR. You better believe I'm going to be using it.
And they try to put it on Kyle that why didn't you have a pistol? Why did you have to have an AR-15? Why didn't you get a pistol or a shotgun?
Objection, relevance.
Yeah, well, he said, he did answer it. He said, they did. I wanted a shotgun, but they actually didn't have any shotguns, and they did have an AR-15, and my friend has one. I know that it works good, and that's what they had, and I'm not old enough to own a pistol yet. So I was only able to get the AR-15.
So he's very knowledgeable about his rights before going into the
basically,
situation.
yeah. I mean, I think he may have gotten a few interstate laws. It's hard to keep everything. They live right on a border.
Is he facing local charges? Is there
I'm
a
not
separate
sure.
case against him?
I don't know. There could be some political problems with that too, because the area he lives in is definitely very pro-gun. So,
all right, we got more coming up here. If you want to join us, the number is 603-283-6160. Whether you want to weigh in on the Kyle Rittenhouse trial as it continues to develop, any idea how long this is going to go?
No idea. They're going back in on Monday. We know that much.
All right, there's more coming up, and the number if you want to join us again, 603-283-6160. Plus, we got some bad Supreme Court rulings to talk about on the way. Project Veritas' founder, he got raided over the weekend, by the way. It's Free Talk Live.
If you want to bring more liberty into your community, there's something you should see. Intercoin, the movement you might want to join. If you like Bitcoin, break through. It's true. It's truly something new. If you'd like to see real prosperity, start your own currency, boost the economy. Intercoin, the movement you might want to join. If you like Bitcoin, its impact's hard to overstate, results you can appreciate. If you're tired of relying on the state, want to make your own community great, homelessness and hunger to eliminate, let the wealth accumulate. Don't wait for the growth rate to accelerate. Go to intercoin.org and get the coins for yourself.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. President Alexander Lukashenko of Belarus is threatening to cut off gas supplies to Europe if fresh sanctions are imposed against his regime by the European Union. The warning comes as the EU is poised to take action over the migrant crisis that officials claim the president is stoking along his nation's border with Poland. From FSN's Brussels bureau, Lucy Hoff has the latest.
The EU is considering its options. We're being told that a sanctions package against 30 more officials and organisations could be approved by the end of this week and then signed off by EU foreign ministers on Monday during a meeting here in Brussels that will also target the airlines that are deemed to be responsible for targeting or facilitating this human trafficking.
In Washington today, US President Joe Biden took part in Veterans Day events at Arlington National Cemetery. FSN's Caroline Malone reports.
A solemn wreath-laying ceremony took place at Arlington's National Cemetery in Virginia on Wednesday. It's the centennial Remembrance Day of the so-called fallen soldier, an anonymous infantryman who died in France in World War I. He was laid to rest at the tomb of the unknown soldier. US President Biden said it was his single greatest honor to remember US veterans on the day.
To all our veterans, past and present, we thank you, we honor you, and we remember always what you've done for us.
A federal holiday is observed on November 11th, the day World War I ended. Other countries commemorate November 11th as Armistice or Remembrance Day.
And in Britain, Buckingham Palace has announced that the Queen will attend Remembrance Sunday commemorations at the Cenotaph in London this weekend. The 95-year-old monarch has been resting on the advice of doctors, but made it clear from the outset that her presence for the annual commemorations was not negotiable. The UN Secretary-General, Antonio Guterres, has joined tributes to former South African President F.W. de Klerk, who has died at the age of 85. A UN spokesperson called the last president of the apartheid era a courageous statesman who took a principled stance and charted the path for a democratic South Africa. Mr. de Klerk spoke about his realization that apartheid had to end during a 2014 appearance at the Oxford Union.
I became convinced that where we stand is morally indefensible, and that apartheid was wrong. It couldn't be improved, it had to be abolished. And I played a leading role in abolishing it.
Chinese President Xi Jinping has officially been designated an historical figure during a closed-door meeting of top Communist Party officials in Beijing. He's expected to hold a much-anticipated virtual face-to-face summit with President Biden early next week. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And you can bring up anything you want. Coming up, some bad news from the Supreme Court. Joey, you had a story. I had one that was completely different. Both of them bad news. We'll get into that coming up here. Ian, Matt, and Joey in the studio. But you need to know about the Bitbox. If you're into cryptocurrency, you know by now, or at least you should know, that keeping your crypto on a centralized exchange is the worst thing you can possibly do. The second worst thing you can do is if you're starting to gather like a lot of cryptocurrency, you know, a significant amount, whatever you consider that to be, you don't want to keep it all on your phone. So you might want to consider looking into hardware wallets, specifically the Bitbox. And why are we talking about the Bitbox? It's because they're doing something different than some of the other hardware wallets out there. The Bitbox is completely open source. And what you can do is you can go to box.freetalklive.com. You can order your own Bitbox there. Use code FTL to save 5%. We're also going to be giving one away. So here's how you can enter our Bitbox giveaway. All you got to do is subscribe to our Odyssey channel over at video.freetalklive.com. And then toot out a screenshot of your subscription to Aria on our social media server, which you can find at social.freetalklive.com. So there's a couple hoops you got to jump through there, but you could win a Bitbox. So if you want to, check it out over at box.freetalklive.com. That is the Bitbox. at box.freetalklive.com. Let's talk to Noel. Noel, you're on the line in Manchester, New Hampshire. Go ahead.
Hey, everybody. How's everything going?
Good.
How are you?
What's on your mind tonight?
So I've been trying to, ever since I moved to Manchester from the Free State Project, I've been trying to get into...
You're kind of a little bit muffled there. You sounded good at the very beginning of the call, and then something changed with your phone.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, much better now. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. So ever since I moved here from New York via the Free State Project, I've been trying to get into more, Bitcoin and all of those alternative monetizations. And I've been trying to use different exchanges like, Coinbase, and I ran into, Robinhood, which is a disaster. And now I'm working with Trust Wallet, and I'm having issues with moving the money from one exchange wallet to another exchange wallet. And I was told by a friend of mine, Josh, that maybe you guys would know better how to manage or maneuver that.
Well, I mean, we can't give you like step-by-step tech support or anything like that here. Obviously, we're just doing a talk radio show. But when you say you're having issues moving from one exchange to another, specifically, what do you mean the issue is? The exchange is just refusing to allow you to withdraw?
Yeah, well, that's one. And then the information, like there's not a whole lot of education when it comes to this. Like it's either you know or you don't know. And people like myself who
takes time,
technical, it's kind of like walking through a landmine. And when you try to go to their, informational website, it's kind of designed so that it's easy to put in the money, but getting it out.
Yeah.
See, you'll hear, you're in luck because you are in New Hampshire, friend. There is a number of people, like any number of people, who will help you figure that out in New Hampshire. There are regular Bitcoin crypto meetups.
I believe Manchester has the longest running meetup, like one of the longest running on the planet.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of...
Go attend that and tell people what your problem is. Somebody there's going to help you figure it out.
Yeah, bring a laptop and, have your login information and just literally pull up your account and somebody will be more than happy to look over your shoulder and say, oh, yeah, I've seen what this is. I know how to deal with this. But just as a general statement, I think what you've observed is correct, Noel, is that a lot of these centralized servers or these centralized exchange houses like Coinbase, they don't want you to withdraw the crypto. They want to put hoops in front of you. You need to do more know your customer before we can let you have this Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You need to show your ID again. You need to show us this. You need to show us that. Where did you get the money? They've got all kinds of questions.
People have got to get away from those exchanges.
Yeah.
Got to get away
from them. Man. I even got like the Coinbase the card, and I was looking at it like, you can only use $100 a week on this card. Or if you want, I'm like, who the hell does $100?
That's chump change. I mean, what are you going to buy for $100?
Yeah, exactly. Or like, let's say you hit the golden ticket and you make a whole bunch of money. Well, you could only transfer $25,000 per day or per week out of the exchange. And I'm like, this sounds really weird. Like, yeah, we'll take your money, and if you lose it, it's on you. But God forbid you make anything. No, we're going to hold on to it.
Yeah, what you're running into, unfortunately, is the United States regulatory system. So the federal government is coming down like a ton of bricks on these exchanges.
Afraid.
And they don't want to go to prison, right? They don't want to have an armed group of men smashing in their windows at 6 in the morning.
Dirtbag wife beaters.
Like happened here at the Crypto 6 raids earlier this year. They actually did that to us. The federal government, destroyed our studio here, which is also my home, and the homes of other co-hosts here on Free Talk Live, all over alleged Bitcoin stuff. They say, we didn't ask for their permission, so now they get to point guns at us.
I actually heard about that. I was actually going to go over to have this similar conversation with a couple of you guys, and then a friend of mine said, they got raided because of Bitcoin. I'm like, what?
So that's why these companies, they put in all this stuff. They go overboard too. Like they go beyond what they're required to do by
in the name of
government.
not getting stomped on by the boot, they want to lick it extra hard.
Correct.
I call it deep throat in the boot.
Yep.
They're deep throating that boot.
Exactly.
They
Now,
want to show off their lack of gag reflex to that boot.
And Coinbase is one of the worst of all of them. They are just like that. They go to D.C., they try to schmooze it up with politicians and regulators, and they want to get cozy with them because they actually want to write the regulations. Coinbase is like the big bank of Bitcoin out
they're the
there.
new Fed.
And they want to be in control of whatever regulations come because they can afford to jump through the hoops. But they know that a newbie coming in, like just wanting to open up a new exchange or something like that, won't have as many attorneys. They won't have the billions of dollars on hand. And basically, Coinbase wants to keep those people out of the marketplace. So, yeah, they make it difficult to withdraw. And unfortunately, the only thing that you can probably do is just jump through whatever their hoops are. You mentioned Robinhood, which is a stock trading app. Do they even allow withdrawals? I remember hearing that they don't even allow people to withdraw at all from.
That was a huge issue when the AMC, GameStop, and then when they started getting into Dogecoin, that was a big issue. That they weren't allowing anybody to withdraw because they couldn't keep up with the I guess it's like they have to go and talk to the transaction people. They didn't have enough money to compensate, so they stopped everybody from withdrawing because they would have gone bankrupt.
It's sort of like fiat money in a bank, like the bank doesn't have all the money. They allocated it all out, and when it goes to run on a bank, there's none there.
Yeah, nothing to take out.
You've made a bunch of customers upset. That's exactly what Coinbase is doing. It's funny because you mentioned the Dogecoin. Coinbase is like pushing hard on the Doge, and I'm like, oh god, people.
Yeah, 100 years ago, people had to put their cash under the mattress, and I recommend you do the exact same thing with your cryptocurrency, except the reasoning is different because now there's no reason to have a bank in the first place anymore. Right. Cryptocurrency, the purpose of cryptocurrency is so you can have your own bank right on your phone. You don't have to have, those exchanges, what we call those are called custodial wallets. That means somebody else is in custody of your crypto.
And they'll give it to you only if they feel like it.
Yeah, it's not really yours if you don't have it in your hand. So, and this bank run analogy that Joe is making is on the money because if you go to get it and they won't give it to you, then do you really own it at all?
But I think your suggestion was the best, Matt, is get connected. You're there in Manchester. There's a great group of crypto people out there. Talk to Josh, who sent you our direction, and say, where's the meetup? I want to come to this meetup.
Yeah, go find the meetups.
Because I don't know where it is offhand.
If you want to, come over to Keene and come to our meetups.
Yeah, we have them here too. And they're happening every single week. So, Noel, thanks for the call tonight. Good luck. And I can definitely appreciate that there is a learning curve. It can be overwhelming.
It's acquired.
Download a wallet and move your stuff onto it as soon as you can.
Absolutely.
We all make mistakes too, so.
Indeed. So keep your mistakes small when it comes to cryptocurrency in the beginning. More coming up here. It's Free Talk Live.
My name is Angel Rach. I'm a mother of 2 teenage children, and I fought all the way to the Supreme Court for the right to use the medicine that saved my life. I've been permanently disabled for 10 years, with an inoperable brain tumor, wasting syndrome, and several other serious conditions. For 4 years, I was in a wheelchair, in so much pain, I couldn't even hug my kids. The hardest part was looking in their eyes and seeing how much they were suffering because of my medical condition. The medicine that gave me my life back and gave my kids their mom back was cannabis, also known as medical marijuana. With medical marijuana, I can walk, maintain my weight, and I can be a mom. Without it, my doctors believe that I would die. To learn more about medical marijuana, contact Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or on the web at mpp.org.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever's on your mind. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio with you tonight, you've got Ian,
Matt, and Joa.
We've been talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. We got some really bad Supreme Court decisions on the way to share with you. Plus, a caller just a moment ago calling in about the frustrations of trying to use Bitcoin exchanges like Coinbase as a new user and basically being blocked at every turn from just simply being able to withdraw what he thinks is his cryptocurrency. If you want to comment, you're welcome to join us here. 603-283-6160. We've actually got somebody tipped us $4.20 on, looks like, I believe this was Twitch. And Pin King 554 says, quote, people need to learn that Kyle's judge is trying to be unbiased as possible. But when the prosecution keeps violating rulings and Kyle's constitutional rights, which they have done twice, this judge is close to using mistrial with prejudice, which, as you mentioned earlier, Matt, is something that could, it could happen. Whether or not it will is another question. But, it's nice to actually have a judge attempt to at least appear unbiased. Because a lot of these federal judges,
I gotta give him the credit, man. The guy he seems very unbiased, and he seems like an old truth and justice attorney. Like the system works, and we have to stand by the rule of law, and that kind of guy.
He's old enough to where he's not trying to move up anymore, right?
Right?
Like
yeah.
He doesn't.
I don't really look at it that way, but you're probably right.
His ivory tower is big enough.
Well, yeah, but a lot of these judges want to move up the chain, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is a stepping stone to get to the appeals court, and then to get to the Supreme Court,
Right.
and then to, get elected or something like
Which
that.
is probably why he never got out of Kenosha.
Mm-hmm.
Because
he's not ambitious like that.
he won't play ball and do Ross Ulbricht things to people.
Yeah, so I don't know. Is there anything else that you wanted to share from your observations on this
No,
trial?
Tomorrow's another day, and then Monday, tomorrow they're going to do some, I think, administrative type stuff, and then on Monday it's going to kick back into full swing again. He warned the prosecution tonight about going too overboard. He says that he cited some ancient federal judge that used to live across the street from that said that the more a person's butt hurts, the less their brain works. So if you're going to make a juror sit there and listen to you yammer on for 2.5 hours, they're probably not going to go along with whatever you're trying to sell them. So he did warn the prosecution about that, and he mentioned that he thinks they should keep it to an hour and a half, and the defense chimed in, we're good with that. Hour and a half, fine. That's good. We can shut it down.
We're talking about closing statements?
Closing statements,
okay.
yep.
Okay.
Like the argument and just presenting the case one more time before the everybody goes to deliberate.
Right. So if you want to weigh in, welcome to join us here, 603-283-6160. Let's change gears to the Supreme Court. Joe, you had a story you wanted to share tonight.
Yeah, this comes from Reason.com. The Supreme Court declines to determine if you have the First Amendment right to film the police. It's really it hits my heart because that's what I do. Yep. And so
you're a First Amendment auditor.
That's correct.
Your channel is Breaking the Flaw. It's on Odyssey.
Yep.
And it's also on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube too. But Odyssey won't be censoring me.
Nice.
So, so Denver cops received qualified immunity after performing a warrantless search on a man's tablet and trying to delete a video he took of them beating a suspect. This is more often than not, and I think they can get away with this stuff.
This sounds like they're getting away with it.
This is my shocked face.
Well, seeing the SCOTUS is not touching it. I think this is really a telltale sign of what they think of, what they believe in.
Now, my question is, are they not touching it because it's already well established that there's no expectation of privacy in a public place and the cops should expect to be recorded?
No. So as you go on with the story here, whenever a Supreme Court rejects a case, whenever they refuse to hear a case, it upholds the lower court's decision. So the lower court's decision, as I understand it, is right here in the headline. The cops got qualified immunity after searching this guy's tablet and deleting or attempting to delete a video of them beating the suspect.
Right.
So the question would have been, should those police have gotten the qualified immunity for what they did? And the Supreme Court is saying, essentially, yes, they should, because they're not taking the case.
Well, certainly, they haven't made any statement.
No.
But
they didn't make any statement, but not taking the case essentially makes the statement that they're okay with what the appeals court said.
Yeah, I feel like this is something that maybe they just don't want to touch because it's such a high. This is really important. This is probably one of the most important things when it comes to the First Amendment, and that's filming cops.
Sure.
Or
any government bureaucrat.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
But specifically cops, because they're the ones that go hands-on. Bureaucrats, they typically are not even supposed to put hands-on. So this is really interesting. But the Supreme Court has just refused to hear a case at the nexus of the police abuse of the First Amendment, declined to consider a petition from a man who says his free speech rights were violated when a group of cops searched his tablet without a warrant and attempted to delete a video he took, right? But it goes on with the officers of the Denver Police Department cornered Levi Frazier, I guess he's the subject in this case, and won the petition, in the summer of 2014 after they noticed he had recorded an altercation moments prior. The video shows a cop punching a suspect in the face 6 times while executing an arrest over alleged drug deal. Okay, another victimless crime. And the man had a sock in his mouth that the cops thought was contraband, and it captured a different officer throwing a woman to the ground by her ankle. And that's when she approached the scene screaming. Upon noticing Frazier, Denver Police Department Officer Russell Bothwell shouted, "Camera!" And the group proceeded to harass him for the footage. Oh my God! It's like he probably screamed it way worse than gun. No, he said, "Oh my God, camera!"
Same thing happened when we went through. I mean, they didn't attack us, but something similar happened when we rolled through the Border Patrol checkpoint, the internal checkpoint up in Woodstock, New Hampshire. We'd come down from Fork Fest or the Porcupine Freedom Festival. It was like 5 or 6 of us in a car. And all of us had, as many cameras as we could possibly have. So like I'm hanging out the window with a camera, and then there's the dash cam. The driver's got his cell phone camera, and they had been setting up these checkpoints every year in the same spot. So we knew it was there. We knew where it was going to be. And so we went down there, and sure enough, like some agent yells out camera at the top of his lungs, and they've got a different way to behave, right? Like if there's a camera around, they're going to not do what they normally do. So in this case, they're going to target the cameraman that you're talking about.
Of course. Well, we could do this the easy way, or we could do this the hard way.
Oh, boy.
Officer Christopher L. Evans reportedly said, pointing to his squad car, as in the back seat, right?
Yeah. Either you hand this over,
wanting to give arrest.
Right. Either you hand the device over so we can take it and delete your footage, or we're going to arrest you. That was the suggestion he was making there.
Yes, and this is here's the whole point of everything that's going on here, is that these officers were given qualified immunity, a legal doctrine that allows a slew of state actors to infringe on your rights if the way they went about doing so had not specifically been ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court or the same federal circuit. So this is where we need SCOTUS, and I don't really care what they say. The First Amendment's the First Amendment, and that's I would like to think that I'm going to give the SCOTUS a benefit of doubt. They just point to the First Amendment. And that's how they should have responded, and why they didn't take this case.
There's no reason to give them the benefit of the doubt, because they specifically didn't take this case, so they wouldn't have to make a ruling on this question. And so therefore, any cops that do the same exact thing in the future there's no Supreme Court ruling on this question. Well, there could have been, but they refused to hear the case.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And it really, this article goes on and on about what it's all about, but I want to read this one other part here. It's the judicial decisions, and I quote, "Judicial decisions are only valid interpretive source of the content of clearly established law. Whatever training the officers received concerning the First Amendment was irrelevant to the clearly established law inquiry," wrote Judge Jerome A. Holmes of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit. With the High Court's rejection today, that ruling will remain intact. So,
not good.
Yeah, it's not good.
So the moral of that story is the government does not serve its intended purpose, its stated purpose. It's not doing what it tells us it does. You're not protected, and you need to go against it. And if it's against the law to point a camera at a cop, you do it anyway, and upload that video as fast as possible through a VPN to Library Odyssey, so it's there forever and nobody can ever take it down and nobody will ever know where it came from. There's no proof. Make sure you get bad guys on camera, even if the law says you're not allowed to get bad guys on camera.
The camera protects people, and they don't like that, and that's why
they
holds
don't
people
want
accountable.
it there. Yeah, that's why they want to stop it.
They hide in the dark because they are not creatures of light.
That's why they shout out the word camera as though a guy's drawing a gun. Like it's that important to them.
Yep.
In fact, it's even more dangerous to them.
Can we just stop calling them cops and just start calling them wife beaters from now
There's
on?
more coming up here in moments. You can share your thoughts. We'll dig in deeper on this.
Spouse
in moments.
abusers.
It's Free Talk Live.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
When a lunar observatory detects a radio broadcast originating from Proxima Centauri, the nations of Earth discover their first contact with an alien race may also be their last. With the Proximans facing an extinction-level disaster, Earth must choose between sending a ship on a multi-year journey or allowing nature to take its course. Saving Proxima, a hard science fiction thriller by Travis S. Taylor and Les Johnson from BaneBooks.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. President Alexander Lukashenko of Belarus is threatening to cut off gas supplies to Europe if fresh sanctions are imposed against his regime by the European Union. The warning comes as the EU is poised to take action over the migrant crisis that officials claim the president is stoking along his nation's border with Poland. From FSN's Brussels bureau, Lucy Hoff has the latest.
The EU is considering its options. We're being told that a sanctions package against 30 more officials and organisations could be approved by the end of this week and then signed off by EU foreign ministers on Monday during a meeting here in Brussels that will also target the airlines that are deemed to be responsible for targeting or facilitating this human trafficking.
In Washington today, US President Joe Biden took part in Veterans Day events at Arlington National Cemetery. FSN's Caroline Malone reports.
A solemn wreath-laying ceremony took place at Arlington's National Cemetery in Virginia on Wednesday. It's the centennial Remembrance Day of the so-called fallen soldier, an anonymous infantryman who died in France in World War I. He was laid to rest at the tomb of the unknown soldier. US President Biden said it was his single greatest honor to remember US veterans on the day.
To all our veterans, past and present, we thank you, we honor you, and we remember always what you've done for us.
A federal holiday is observed on November 11th, the day World War I ended. Other countries commemorate November 11th as Armistice or Remembrance Day.
And in Britain, Buckingham Palace has announced that the Queen will attend Remembrance Sunday commemorations at the Cenotaph in London this weekend. The 95-year-old monarch has been resting on the advice of doctors, but made it clear from the outset that her presence for the annual commemorations was not negotiable. The UN Secretary-General, Antonio Guterres, has joined tributes to former South African President F.W. de Klerk, who has died at the age of 85. A UN spokesperson called the last president of the apartheid era a courageous statesman who took a principled stance and charted the path for a democratic South Africa. Mr. de Klerk spoke about his realization that apartheid had to end during a 2014 appearance at the Oxford Union.
I became convinced that where we stand is morally indefensible and that apartheid was wrong. It couldn't be improved, it had to be abolished. And I played a leading role in abolishing it.
Chinese President Xi Jinping has officially been designated an historical figure during a closed-door meeting of top Communist Party officials in Beijing. He's expected to hold a much-anticipated virtual face-to-face summit with President Biden early next week. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, taking another look today at the migrant crisis along the Belarusian border with Poland. Thousands of people have massed there in an effort to seek resettlement in the European Union. But who are they? Where did they come from? And how did they get there?
These people came from different countries, from Lebanon, from Syria. Also, there are some Afghanis there.
Franek Viachorka is a senior advisor to Belarusian opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya.
They bought the tour packages, and right now they are waiting to be delivered to the border. They are also hostages. They are also victims of Lukashenko's regime because they believed he can really deliver them to Germany. But it didn't happen. They just became the weapon against the EU.
With the crisis intensifying, he says the Belarusian opposition is doing all it can to ensure the EU now holds President Alexander Lukashenko accountable.
It's very important that the EU countries will stay united and will make a very strong response to Lukashenko. This is the guy who understands only the language of force. So we hope on Monday there will be a strong round of sanctions, and we hope the US also will support the sanctions.
He's been speaking from Prague, where he's been lobbying Czech officials. Svetlana Tikhanovskaya herself is in Germany, meeting the country's incoming Chancellor, Olaf Scholz. Humanitarian conditions at the border are rapidly worsening. The main news again, President Alexander Lukashenko of Belarus is threatening to cut off gas supplies to Europe if fresh EU sanctions are imposed against his regime. Buckingham Palace has announced that the Queen will attend Remembrance Sunday commemorations in London this weekend, and the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has joined tributes to former South African President F.W. de Klerk, who died today, aged 85. There's more from us on Twitter @FeatureStory. And that is the latest Feature Story news. Simon Marks reporting.
A report released Tuesday by physicists at Stanford University revealed that the entire known universe, from the whole of human civilization to the totality of matter and energy, is actually the fictional setting of a cop show called Hard Case. According to authors of the report, existence as we know it was created solely to provide the framework for the primetime drama that airs weekly in a parallel universe, and that every historical event prior to the show's September 2008 pilot, including the Renaissance, World War II, evolution, the September 11th attacks, and the presidential administrations of Washington through Clinton, never actually happened and are merely part of the elaborate backstory crafted by Hard Case creator and showrunner Dominic Egan.
We used to believe that our universe operated under immutable laws of thermodynamics and gravitational relativity, but now we know everything just comes from the minds of Hard Case's 12 staff writers. Overall, it seems like a very well-written show.
Physicists have theorized that the universe as we know it will cease to exist whenever Hard Case airs its final episode.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up what you want. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Joining you tonight in the studio, it's Ian,
Matt, and Joa.
So I finally found out that the Kyle Rittenhouse trial is actually not in federal court. I had been thinking this was a federal trial.
I did too.
And you've been watching it.
I have.
And so a lot of the court, the stories that are out there, like I had to look and look and look and look. A lot of the news coverage doesn't even mention which courthouse this is taking place in. So it's not a surprise that people would have no idea.
And also, just to defend my my ignorance on the issue, they're all the same to me. They're all the same.
Well, one of the key differences between state and federal court is you can get a camera into a state courthouse.
That's true.
Now, you may have to ask some permission from some man in a robe first, but, even in Massachusetts, I could get a camera in there. I just had to show up an hour early, file a motion, get it heard by the judge in advance of the case. Here in New Hampshire, I could just waltz in and, tell them who I am, and they let me in because I'm on the media list. Freekeen.com is on that media list. From the Supreme Court. So that's why there's a bunch of coverage of the Wisconsin Rittenhouse trial. So it's not like the federal government is doing something unusual and letting the media into this trial, which is too bad because I would have loved to have had that trial set some precedent to where, we do feel like letting cameras into this trial. Mm-hmm. But then everybody else, you can't even get a cell phone into the federal courthouse. They will strip you of any audio recording device, laptop, cell phone, whatever. If you try to bring it in, they're going to take it from you and they'll hold it at the front.
Do they offer any reasoning for that type of paranoia?
No.
It's just pure paranoia on their part, it seems.
They just don't want their trials to be shown.
Well, the federal secretary wouldn't make any money for them, having to sell off the audio recordings later on, which I found out a lot of money. A lot of money.
And the transcripts are also very expensive as well. So let's go to your phone calls and thoughts. You can share whatever's on your mind. Then we'll talk more about qualified immunity in this case where a guy was stopped by the police after he recorded them beating a suspect. And the cops deleted, or attempted to at least, delete the video from his tablet. We'll talk more about that case coming up here in moments. But first, we go to Larry. He's on the line in Indiana. You're on Free Talk Live, Larry.
How you doing, Mark and Ian?
Mark's not here. Unfortunately, he hasn't been on the show for a little while because I'm under some bail conditions that prevent that.
I got a laptop now, so I'm seeing something red at. Is that Mark?
Do me a favor, Larry. Back off your phone by an inch or two. You're a little bit over modulated, as they call it in the business. It's a little hard to understand you.
How's that?
That's a little bit better. But Mark unfortunately hasn't been on the show for a little while because I'm prohibited from having contact with him under some very restrictive, arguably unconstitutional bail restrictions in the Crypto 6 case, which started back in March. So.
Well, they still took my YouTube channel down. I don't know what it was all about, but they went in and took it down.
Yeah, they took ours down 2 days ago, actually. So we are currently not streaming on the Free Talk Live YouTube channel, although Aria DiMezzo's channel is still featuring us there, at least for the moment. We don't know how long that's going to last.
I had about 40 good videos. Anyway,
you had about what? It is hard to understand you, Larry. Maybe back off your phone a little bit more. You're not on speakerphone or anything, are you?
This better?
I don't know. What were you calling about? What was the point you were
I was just calling about the COVID and the progression of the sanctions that they're adding on. And they're going to be closing things down again soon. So it's just like it's playing by the rule book of that state model emergency healthcare act, Health Emergency Powers Act. More governors are coming up with more dead bodies and basing their state budget deficits to collect. That's what they're doing here in my city. The more dead bodies, the more money the city gets. So it's morbid and it's predictable.
I still haven't seen the piles and piles of dead bodies everywhere. The millions and millions dead, and
like you would during a real pandemic.
Yeah, this is not the plague I was sold, and I want to talk to the manager.
Larry, thanks for the call tonight. Unfortunately, it's a little hard to make out your call, but I appreciate you.
I forget her name now. Who's the vice president?
Kamala.
Oh God, thank God I didn't remember that. But she was saying that on a speech recently that the only people that are in the hospital right now for COVID are people who gotten the shot.
It's amazing that she's even admitting it.
Yeah.
Wait, she admitted that?
She did. She clearly, she repeated it a couple times. Yes, this is what she said.
Speaking of federal court, we go to, and actually it's funny, I just mentioned his trial. Chris Cantwell is on the line here calling from jail in Charlottesville, I presume. Chris, welcome back.
It's good to be with you, gentlemen. I'm going to court in Charlottesville. I'm actually housed at the Central Virginia Regional Jail in Orange, Virginia, but I take an hour car ride to Charlottesville every weekday morning.
We were just talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, and I just found out it actually isn't in federal court, which explains why there are cameras and video feeds of this thing. But your trial has been apparently something people could call in and listen to. For listeners unfamiliar, a brief recap: Chris Cantwell is facing a civil case right now, and he was involved in the Charlottesville protests with the right-wing, ultra-right Nazi
Wait a second.
separatists.
Civil? And he's in jail?
He's in jail for some BS charges that were brought against him over the last couple of years.
Right.
He's now sitting out a 41-month sentence for having an argument with another Nazi on Telegram. So Chris is... are you still a racist, Chris? Is it still fair to call you that?
I don't know. Once I found out that Joe Biden was a racist, it kind of wasn't cool anymore. But,
okay. Oh yeah. Have you? Wait.
Oh.
Have you seen the? I mean, how could you have seen the latest clip? Did you hear about what happened today?
No, I was still referring to the "You Ain't Black" stuff from the election, but I'm sure that Joe Biden probably messed up again sometime between then.
Yeah,
and
wasn't he? Did you guys see the clip where he's referring to some old baseball player as an old Negro or something?
What?
Yeah. I'll have to pull.
Wait, Joe Biden is not racist. He told people if you didn't vote for him, you weren't black. That's opposite of racism, right?
Right. So
I'll find it for you, Chris.
Poor kids are just as smart and just as bright as white kids. All right, and that's all that really matters. And so you know, and Corn Pop, you know, he was a bad dude, but that had nothing to do with his race. And so, you know, but anyway, but yeah, so basically, to the extent that, you know, racism and white supremacy is just a synonym for Western civilization, I will defend my way of life by any name, and I don't run from it just because people call it racist. But I'd say my views on race are more nuanced than most people would gather.
So, look, I mean, I don't agree with your views on race, but I do agree that you should have the right to express yourself, and that's why they put you in jail, just basically for having an argument with another jerk on Telegram. And so that's why you're sitting in a jail cell during the civil trial, which has to do with the Charlottesville.
Were I not serving time for ostensibly unrelated charges, I'd be driving myself to court. I happen to be, you know, in the Central Virginia Regional Jail because I'm a federal inmate doing time for something almost completely unrelated.
Right. So, and by the way, as you are a federal inmate, they, for whatever reason, have chosen to put you in the Communications Management Unit, which basically means that you can't talk to anyone with the exception of like 2 quick 15-minute phone calls per week scheduled in advance. You basically can't call anyone except your mother when you're in federal jail, or federal prison in this Communications Management Unit. So the fact that you're actually on this Charlottesville trial means they're holding you in a normal jail, which means you can actually access the phone, and that's the only reason why we're even able to hear from you. So, I mean, it's been like a week or two. You're deep into this civil trial. What's been going on? Can you give us a recap?
Yeah, so there's a couple of recent highlights. You know, I've been making fools out of these witnesses, and it's driving the media insane. BuzzFeed and Vice and all these, you know, left-wing outlets are like panicking because I've turned the trial into a podcast. Basically, is the way they're looking at it. And some people, you know, Radical Agenda listeners are tuning in. And after I did my opening statement, somebody in a Telegram channel said, "Best episode of Radical Agenda ever." And
Chris, do you have time? I know you're highly restricted in that jail. Can you stand by?
Yeah, sure.
All right, more here if we get the chance. Last time we put him on hold in the jail, like put him on lockdown or something like that, so we didn't get him back. But we'll continue here. We'll get an update from Chris Cantwell on the trial, the civil trial against the right-wingers, the hardcore Nazi types, coming up. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people like passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? None. They'd rather keep their clients in the dark. There are too many lawyer jokes to count. However, there are some lawyers with more noble intentions. At the Institute for Justice, we bring the light to our clients. We are a non-profit public interest law firm with clear values and principles. At IJ, we fight for those whose most basic rights are denied by the government. Visit our website today at ij.org.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, you can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. It's Ian, Matt, and Joa here in the studio tonight. We're going to get back into some bad news from the Supreme Court in the U.S., backing up the police, unfortunately, backing up police power, their power to abuse, their power to violate your rights. We'll get back into that story, but we've got Chris Cantwell on the line here calling us from Virginia. He's in a jail there as he's in a federal court. Now, he's not in the court because he's in jail. He's in federal prison, and they moved him out of the federal prison temporarily so he can go to this civil trial, which is basically between Chris Cantwell and, like, I don't know, what is it, like a dozen other people are defendants in this case, Chris?
There's 9 plaintiffs and 24 defendants.
Wow.
And I am amongst the 24 defendants.
And you're one of the defendants that is pro se, so you are defending yourself because basically you have had your finances wiped out as a result of this particular trial, and you don't have the money to afford attorneys. Although that does give you, as a pro se person, that does give you the ability to ask questions that attorneys would probably get in trouble for, right? So you've got a little more leeway.
So yeah, me and Richard Spencer are both pro se defendants in the courtroom representing ourselves in this case. And, I mean, I don't really understand exactly what the rules I'm breaking are, but according to the attorneys in the room, they say that I'm being given a lot of latitude. Mm-hmm. So it's easily working out very well, I think, anyway. We shall see how the jury perceives it.
Let me see if I can just summarize, as I understand it. The allegation in this civil trial is basically that you and the rest of these people had some sort of a conspiracy to commit violence. That's what they have to prove, and you're saying, no, I didn't even know these guys, basically, right?
Right. And it's more specific than that. It's a conspiracy to commit racially motivated violence. We're actually being sued under the powers granted to the federal government by the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, which outlaws slavery. And so they say that the Unite the Right rally was a violent racist conspiracy carried out by a bunch of evil white supremacists who planned the violence, right? And we're saying, no, we had a permitted demonstration, and a bunch of communists attacked us because they don't want us to have a public demonstration, right? And the controversy has become, here's the big joke about it, okay? Because I go witness after witness, all the plaintiffs, as they come up here, they say, oh, I was just going down there to voice my opposition to hate and to show my support for love and goodness, right? And there's no way that anybody I was with Antifa. None of my friends had weapons. I was just out there chanting, all these racial justice slogans.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, well, here's the video of you, and here's the guy with the baseball bat standing next to you, and here's the guy with the bandana over his face, right? And the thing is that these people keep on saying these things that are just proven untrue by the video and photographic evidence, which is stupid on their part, right? Because the thing is that the plaintiffs complained that we were going to put this defense on because they rightly point out that even if Antifa goes and attacks us, that doesn't give me the right to participate in a violent racist conspiracy, right? If I participate in a violent racist conspiracy and Antifa attacks me, I'm still liable for the violent racist conspiracy. You follow?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Well, because these people can't bring themselves to admit that there are violent criminals amongst them, they're making themselves look bad because I'm proving that they are actually amongst violent criminals. And it's destroying their case. You know, I think so. Anyway, we shall see what the jury's ultimate verdict is. It's obviously up to them.
Yeah, now regardless of what you think about Chris Cantwell's belief system, he should still have the right to express himself. And in this particular case, you guys went kind of above and beyond, and you actually went and secured a permit for this particular protest that these people, showed up to, essentially. In fact, you had talked with the Charlottesville police prior to this. Is that what they're saying is the conspiracy, that you asked for a permit to have this meeting?
But they're trying to not pay any attention to the fact that we got a permit or coordinated with law enforcement or anything else. They're trying to sort of gloss over that fact because it's an inconvenient portion of their case. But to the extent that it is, they're calling that a strategy of deniability, which is where their white supremacy expert came in today. Okay, so they had this expert witness on the white supremacist movement.
Was it the Southern Poverty Law Center?
What's that?
Was that the Southern Poverty Law Center representatives?
Well, humorously, he doesn't work for the Southern Poverty Law Center, but the report that he issued, like nearly 100, I think 120 of the 300 citations in the report were citations of the Southern Poverty Law Center. Okay, so like he doesn't know any of us from Adam, frankly. He's reading our hate watch profiles from the SPLC, and he's being like, "Yep, these are a bunch of Nazis, and they do evil things. You should, take lots of money from the guy who can't afford an attorney, basically, right?" And I made this guy look like a fool today. It was really, really funny.
Well, thanks for wasting their money. I wouldn't thank you for anything else, but thank you for doing that.
They spent like $60,000 on this 66-page report.
Incredible.
To have this guy come in here and make a fool out of him.
The SPLC, I think, is probably the most verifiable hate group in the United States of America.
It genuinely is. It's a monstrous group of partisan Democrat hustlers.
I hate agreeing with you, Chris Campbell. I just want you to know. Yeah. I don't like you, but I don't like what's happening to you either. It's garishly bad, and it could happen to anybody next.
Yeah, that's true.
That's kind of the thing, right? H.L. Mencken said the trouble with defending human freedom is one spends most of one's time defending scoundrels, for it is against scoundrels that whom unjust laws are first aimed, right?
Right.
And if it isn't taken care of at that point, well, then then it happens
get worse.
to other people. And America saw this all throughout 2020, right? We said, hey, these Antifa scumbags, they attacked us, and they're just like, you're a bunch of Nazis, shut up, don't have a rally. Well, then they started, when we got off the streets, what did these people do? Then they turned their Molotov cocktails and their hammers on regular citizens. That's what happened, right? And then we watched 2020 as these people looted and burned with basically a license from the state to do it, and nobody would go lock them up. Meanwhile, you say something untoward about transgender ideology on Facebook, and well, you can go take a hike.
Yeah,
but
now you're going to get banned on Twitter just for saying Kyle Rittenhouse is a hero. Some people have been getting their accounts suspended for that. Now, Chris, you said that the prosecution, or that's not the right term, the plaintiffs called a witness. So they're still calling witnesses? They haven't even rested their case yet, and we're, 3 weeks in?
Well, here's the big joke. They don't want to rest their case. They want to keep their case open while we put ours on, which is the big dilemma right now. This is going to be a controversy tomorrow morning because I haven't been called as a witness yet, right? And without calling me as a witness, there's no evidence against me.
Mm-hmm.
They have nothing on me so far, right? And so if they rest their case right now, I could rest right now and not even I don't even have to show them my body camera video or testify or anything. But they don't want to rest their case. They want to keep their case open and then question me without limitation when I call myself as a witness. But if they don't call, if they're not going to call me, then I don't think I should call myself. And so that's kind of the controversy right now. They're
Chris,
hoping to wrap up their case in Maine tomorrow.
All right, keep us in the loop if you can. Here's a quick clip for you. This is Joe Biden.
I've adopted the attitude of the great Negro at the time, pitcher in the Negro Leagues, went on to become a great pitcher in the pros, into the Major League Baseball after Jackie Robinson. His name was Satchel Paige.
There you go. Old Joe
Oh my
Biden.
God, he said Negro twice.
He
Amazing.
sure did. The
Tomorrow
Negro
he's going
League.
to call him colored, probably, I'm thinking.
Thanks, Chris.
Take care, guys.
Thanks for the call tonight, man. Good luck. 603-283-6160. That's the latest Biden gaffe. It's been floating around social media here today. More coming up here in moments. 603-283-6160. You can join us on Free Talk Live.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. The U.S. inquiry into January's attack on the Capitol building by pro-Trump supporters is gathering information from people closely connected with former Vice President Mike Pence. The inquiry is trying to establish if Donald Trump had prior knowledge of the riot in which 5 people died. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
At least 5 members of Mike Pence's inner circle are said to be cooperating with the congressional committee that's heading up the inquiry. According to CNN, some of them are willing to testify and provide information on how the former president tried to push his vice president to overturn the election result in Trump's favor. The committee has already subpoenaed Pence's former national security advisor, Keith Kellogg. Meanwhile, Trump is trying to block the release of hundreds of pages of documents and internal memos. A judge has ruled the investigating committee can see them. The president's lawyers are trying to prevent that from happening.
The tech sector rallied Thursday after inflation concerns fueled a sell-off on Wall Street earlier in the week. But weak earnings from Disney were a drag on the Dow Jones Industrial Index. FSN's William Denzelo reports from New York.
Wednesday's Consumer Price Index was up 6.2% in October compared to the year before. That's the highest level in around 30 years, and inflation concerns continue to linger on Wall Street. But investors largely shrugged off those fears Thursday. The S&P was up a fraction, and the Nasdaq closed up 0.5%, but the Dow closed the day down 0.4%. There was no economic data out Thursday, and investors turned their attention to corporate earnings. Disney closed the day down around 7% after disappointing earnings results. Subscriber numbers for its streaming platform came in shy of analyst expectations.
California is extending its state of emergency over the coronavirus pandemic as cases continue to rise across the western U.S. California's Governor Gavin Newsom has warned that the winter could bring another surge of COVID-19 cases to the state.
Around this time last year, case rates, positivity rates, hospitalization rates, ICU numbers start to increase.
Now, following months of decline, infections and hospitalizations have plateaued and are rising in certain areas. The state's public health department is strongly encouraging people to get vaccine booster shots, noting in a letter that vaccine providers should let patients themselves decide if they qualify based on their own assessment of possible risk. A U.S. judge has given final approval of a $626 million settlement for people affected by the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. The city declared a state of emergency in 2015 after the Environmental Protection Agency said it had found dangerous levels of lead in the city's water. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything here. The number is 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. And we've been telling you about how Intercoin can help any business or organization launch their own currency and raise money using their own token. Intercoin has now launched its investor token worldwide, and for the first time, you can get it on a centralized exchange. You can create your account over at xmarkets.com. It's exmarkets.com with just an email address so you keep your privacy intact. You can then trade dozens of different currencies, cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin. You can trade them for Tether and then use your Tether to buy ITR, which is the Intercoin Investor Token. You can learn more about the Intercoin vision over at intercoin.org, and you can buy or sell ITR on xmarkets.com, exmarkets.com. You just might be advancing the cause of liberty around the world. Speaking of advancing the cause of liberty, Joe, you've got some sad news to report here.
Yeah, this is far more important than the last segment. I had to say that. Fun Spot. I don't know if you guys remember going to Fun Spot with the maskless events.
Who could forget?
Such a good place.
Fun Spot, for listeners that don't know, is they claim to be the world's largest arcade.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
I've heard somebody disclaim that, saying that there was something in Japan or whatever.
It's pretty
but
big.
It's monstrous.
I've done some
doubt.
live streaming there. Actually, that's where I met Bonnie for the first time.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's memorable to me.
There's an entire bowling alley on the main floor.
They got mini golf.
Yeah.
Mini golf. Oh, I love Fun Spot.
But we have some sad news. I'm going to read the tweet that Fun Spot put out. With sad hearts, we announced that our founder, Bob Lawton, has passed on. He died peacefully around by his family. He was 90 years old. Fun Spot will continue to offer family fun and will now be looked after by the next generation of Lawtons. Rest in peace, Bob.
God bless them all, and rest in peace, Bob.
Yeah, it's an amazing attraction. It's one of those things that it's pretty unique to New Hampshire. It's like you're going back in time to the 1980s or the 90s or whatever. And the thing is, this guy's he's been running this thing for decades.
Yeah,
I mean, for
and it
long
really is
before.
a museum. Like they have like the Atari area where you can see all the Ataris from times past. They have like an Atari Saturn setup and like whatever, you know, like the Atari 5200 with the original box in the display case, and it talks. There's a like a notepad that like a piece of a notation that talks about what it was and how it worked, and
people go there specifically to set their world records. Like I love playing Donkey Kong, and I love playing on the machine that the world record is on, and I attempt every time.
Have you come close?
Terrible. And I met the guy last time when I met Bonnie there. The world record holder was there.
He was there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I used to like to play Golden Axe as a kid, so I go into Fun Spot and play Golden Axe, and
they have that one there.
Contra and oh god, they have everything. They have original Pong and Cubert and
They
Frogger.
have so many games. It's hard to even know which games are in there. Like
well, it's all there.
Yeah,
they've literally got
the
just
classics
every
for sure.
Every single video game that's ever been is basically there.
And I wanted to mention that Bob Lawton, he is the reason why New Hampshire has the slogan "Live Free or Die."
How's that?
He, I guess, pushed for it years ago, and they adopted it. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
That's why he's so significant. I think he was a libertarian. I'm pretty sure he was.
And you said he had "Who is John Galt" on the sign outside.
Yeah,
of
you
Fun
still
Spot.
go by there today. It's gonna still scroll through their marquee. Who is John Galt?
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a wonderful guy.
Cool guy, and I remember Bonnie and I were there because earlier this year there were, I think, once a month they were doing just kind of go to Fun Spot and hang out, play some video games, and hang out with the
maskless gatherings.
People. Yeah, maskless, because they were one of the sane places where you could actually choose whether or not to wear a mask. And so we went there, and it was, of course, it's a lot of fun to just go and check it out. But in the diner area or whatever, the snack bar, they've got some history, right? Like you can read about the history of the place and how he started it. He had to get a loan from his grandma. He started it when he was, I think, 21 years old.
Wow.
And so very, very young. Like he hadn't done that much else in his life, right? Like this was his big thing that he was doing. And there were no video games at that time. It was just a different kind of games place.
Skee
right?
ball, different kind of versions of it.
Right, like maybe pinball or whenever that came out. But that's what he did was he borrowed $700 from his grandmother and opened up what became Fun Spot. And it literally, he was 90 years old when he died. So he spent 7 decades of his life running this
and the
arcade.
place literally is an homage to fun.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's got it all.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, skee ball, air hockey. You know, all the fun stuff.
Whenever I go there with my girlfriend, we get a large pizza, and when you get a large pizza, they give you a special token, and you get to exchange that for I don't know how many tokens, like 50 tokens or something like that. So it comes with the pizza. So
there is a full bowling alley in there, not just a bowling alley. They also have candlestick bowling, like small balls with the little pins. That's pretty impressive.
I prefer the 10-pin.
I do too. I prefer regular old bowling, but
what I like about it is you can walk in. This is what I've always done. Is I pop a $20 bill in the token machine, and then you have to hold up a big ass cup to fill the thing with all these tokens, and it's hard to spend. I mean, within a couple hours, it's hard to go through $20 worth of tokens.
And that's the thing about FunSpot. It wants you to have fun. Go have fun.
Like I have so much fun. I can't use all my tokens. Actually, I just cleaned my car out the other day, and oh my god, my door was full of FunSpot tokens.
This is turning into like an unpaid ad for FunSpot. But if you're in New Hampshire, for God's sake, go to FunSpot.
There's a lot to do. You know, you come up, you visit New Hampshire, you can hang out with the Free Staters. But if you got an extra few hours, head over there, head to the Lakes region.
You know, it's funny is
go to Laconia. And
it's
go to
right outside of Laconia, and if you go up there, the thing is, if you were to like Google FunSpot and look at the videos of FunSpot and watch them, the videos cannot do justice to the size and scope of this place.
It's like multiple stories.
Yeah,
it's like, just big.
It's like a 3-story. It's like half the size of a football field, and it's like 3 stories high, and it's full of fun and games.
I've done a full walkthrough of the place on my channel, so if you want to see how big it is, I show that scope, and
just go to Breaking the Flaw on YouTube or Odyssey and search for FunSpot.
Sure.
Come up.
If you look, I think it's a Donkey Kong world record attempt.
Oh, nice.
And I don't even get past the first screen, guys. So.
That's awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah, check them out and rest in peace. And I hope that the family, it says the family is going to keep the dream alive. So, you know, I hope that they keep it going.
Yes.
I hope that they're as libertarian as he was. And
I think they are.
And we still see some good stuff up on the marquee outside.
Yeah.
That's
some fresh new things like Free Talk Live.
I hope they know who is John Galt means. I hope they understand what that means.
I mean, how could you not? Like, if that's your
there's
dad,
a lot of I know libertarians who've never read any Ayn Rand before, and they don't know who is John Galt, the significance of that phrase is.
I've never read that book either.
What?
Nope, never read it.
Mr. Libertarian.
Sorry, there's a lot of libertarian books out there. Now, I have read one book by her, Ayn Rand, but I was actually in high school. It was one of the required
Anthem
books. Yeah, it was Anthem.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anthem is a testament. It's funny. I just spent the day with a woman and her 14-year-old foster child, and I was surprised that there's a high school up in northern New Hampshire where Anthem is required reading, and they're talking about it in the class, and they're discussing
not a surprise. This is New Hampshire.
That is a total surprise to me. That's public schooling. I can't believe that public schools haven't run Ayn Rand out of the public school yet, especially books like Anthem.
Yeah, the thing that's cool about one of the other things that's cool about FunSpot is you're kind of going back in time to some extent, because I mean we grew up we're all kind of the same age range within a decade, I think, of each other, and you know, so we probably went to original arcades right back in the day, and they've got all that stuff and the tickets. You know, you play the skee ball, you get the tickets come out, but then they've got some newer kind of aspects. So like they have these, and maybe these aren't that new. I mean, I didn't spend much time in arcades in the last 20 years, but they've got these ticket eating machines. So you get the tickets that come out of the various different games, and then there's like these big vending, like reverse vending machines that just inhale tickets at an incredibly high rate, and then they just print you out a little receipt. And so when you go to the prize counter with all the chintzy, you know, cheapy prizes that all these places used to have back in the day,
they still are.
Yeah. You
even the top prize isn't worth it.
Chintzy,
but
super garbage, but it's still fun, right? The kids love that stuff.
I love that. I give my tickets either away or I buy like just candy and I give the rest away.
Yeah. I go to the nearest ticket eating machine where some little kid's feeding it, and I just throw my tickets at the kid.
It's so satisfying, right? So just taking your tickets, it's amazing.
Yeah, and then you just get a little receipt and you show them that, and you don't have to count the tickets. Very, very nice. So very nice kind of modern twists on some classic stuff, but it's mostly just classics. That's what the whole place is. There's more coming up here on Bad Supreme Court Decisions on Free Talk Live.
If you're looking for work, there's a piece of paper more important than your resume. It's the cover letter attached if you're snail mailing, or the email to which you attach your resume. Make it 4 short paragraphs. Paragraph 1, say that you're applying for work. The person you're sending to gets a ton of mail about all sorts of things. If you have a password, that's your first sentence. Tom Nelson tells me you and I should meet. Paragraph 2, what you do and how that relates to the opening. Be as specific as possible. Paragraph 3, why you want this particular job. I'm originally from Boston, so I know the market well. I have family and friends in the area, so this would be a homecoming for me. Paragraph 4, unless the job posting stipulates no calls, and I will call you to follow up. Thank you in advance for your time. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means, stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Free Talk Live.
Who would win, Borg versus Robocop?
Well, the Borg would obviously win because, there's a lot of them, right? Like, Robocop is one guy,
That's true.
And
He's going to be assimilated.
He's a mechanized guy, but, he's not plugged into the singularity, man. He'd be totally assimilated, dude.
If Robocop can sort of link into Skynet and then actually take control of all the Terminators, then who would win against the Borg?
All right, well, now you're talking about Robocop and Skynet.
And the Terminators.
You're really talking about Skynet versus the Borg.
Yes.
And that's an interesting question because Skynet...
The Borg
Sorry. I just think Bitcoin, not bombs, guys. The Borg and Skynet should not fight with each other. They should mine Bitcoin. And then they would be one.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us here if you want. The number is 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. Joining you in the studio tonight, you've got Ian,
Matt,
and Joa.
And I want to get back into the story. Joe, you brought this one in. I've got it pulled up here as well over at reason.com. It was about a Supreme Court case. Well, actually, the lack of a Supreme Court case. The Supreme Court refused to hear a case And whenever they refuse a case, what that does is it essentially upholds the lower court's decision. So in this case, an appeals court had made a decision about a man who says his free speech rights were violated when the cops in Denver stole his tablet under threat. Like they said, well, we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way, suggesting that if he didn't hand over the tablet, that they would arrest him. He gave them the tablet under threat, and then they searched it. They attempted to delete the video footage from it, and he's saying, hey, that's not right. You shouldn't be doing that. And the lower court, the appeals court, backed up the officers in this case and they were given qualified immunity. And essentially what the lower court said was, yes, they should have had qualified immunity in this case. Now, what is qualified immunity? Well, according to the Reason.com story, it's a legal doctrine that allows a slew of state actors, specifically the police and pretty much every other bureaucrat, to infringe on your rights if the way they went about doing so has not specifically been ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court or the same federal circuit. So basically, they get to claim ignorance. They get to say, oh, did we violate your rights? Well, because these men in the robes hadn't told us that we would violate your rights if we did what we did, therefore we didn't violate your rights. I mean, even if your rights were violated, we're not responsible for it.
I wonder if cops ever use their IQ as like, oh, I didn't know. Go to my IQ.
Yeah.
Because they don't hire high IQs.
There are departments that actually have limits on what IQ their officers can be.
Yeah, you can't be smarter than the smartest guy here.
How would you like to go to work for an institution that cherishes your stupidity?
Oh my God!
Like that just knowing that there are police departments out there that hire based on stupidity. I would not be able to go to job. I don't care how if I was a stupid person, I still wouldn't be able to. I will go be a machinist or a welder or somewhere where I don't have to be a total rocket scientist. I just have to be good at my job.
Where you can make your own shiny badge?
Or make my own. Where the talents that you do have would be legitimately cherished and valued. And literally their only value at the police department is that they were stupid enough to get hired.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't get them sweet government benefits and the 90% retirement.
That's right. So not only are they stupid, they're disgusting.
Or like what Manchester police put in their hiring, like they posted it publicly. Oh, yeah, one of the benefits is qualified immunity.
Yeah, right.
No, it's not. And they had to redact that.
Well, that is actually a benefit.
Well, I mean
they're being honest.
It's part of policy. It's not really. Right. I mean,
that's a benefit. The benefit is, hey guys, if you're a thug, you get to come here and be a thug, and you get to push people around. You get to beat them up. You get to steal their stuff, and you won't have any consequences for it. That's basically what they were saying, in other words. But what is qualified immunity? Well, it's a granular standard, according to Reason, that has seen government officials get off for assaulting and arresting a man for standing outside of his own home, for shooting and killing a man who had been sleeping in his car. And, of course, they're linking to different stories about all of these things.
Yes,
for beating a man after pulling him over for broken lights, for leaving an innocent man's home in ruins after conducting a SWAT raid on the wrong house, and for stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's just a short list. This thing goes on and on. Without a prior ruling with identical facts, the victims in the above scenarios were not allowed to state their claims before a jury. So the exact same case basically had to have been heard, and it had to go all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court had to say, oh, yeah, you guys should have known better. You don't have qualified immunity in this case. So then if a case that was like that one, that was basically identical to that, gets heard at a lower court, then you can claim, oh, qualified immunity, should not apply. Cite the court case where the Supreme Court made the decision that it shouldn't apply, and then you can actually take the case in front of a jury. So rather than hearing this new case with a cop stealing the man's tablet and deleting the videos of them beating a man, which is what the guy was recording, is the police beating somebody, since the Supreme Court didn't take the case, they don't have to make a ruling on whether or not there was any, qualified immunity in that particular case.
It's quite sad. I hope more people petition like this guy did to get them to actually look at it. I mean, they can't.
But they aren't obligated to.
No,
and they're protecting the police by refusing to take the case.
I don't expect the government in general to be taking care of me when it comes to securing my rights or anything like that. That is up to us as individuals, and hopefully a community can stand up and say no too. But I don't depend on the government to make to protect me. And it's not their job, actually.
The standard is particularly egregious in this case because the Denver Police Department enacted a policy in 2007 informing their officers that the public has a constitutional right to film them on duty. But that wasn't good enough, according to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit, which ruled in March that the only permissible avenue for overcoming qualified immunity is to find that perfect court precedent. And
the one that favors them, basically. The one that's going to make them look good in the federal court. In this, that's how I look at that. They're very nitpicky until it favors them. Yeah, we're going to bring up qualified immunity, but they're not going to do it in the people's favor. They don't care.
The rationale for qualified immunity is that officials should be free from vacuous lawsuits and thus deserve to be put on notice as to what is and what is not constitutional behavior. See, they just can't figure it out for themselves. They have to have men in robes explain it to them. And if they haven't explained it specifically in each case, then they don't know. From the 10th Circuit's opinion, we are to deduce that obscure court precedents are more valuable at accomplishing that end than a department's own stated policies, even though one would expect most government employees to be more familiar with the latter than the former, that is, their department's own policies. But that's not what mattered in this case.
Right.
Those training guidelines will now somewhat lose their force, said the attorney for the Institute for Justice. Cops have less reason to follow department policies if they know federal courts will decline to hold them accountable for breaking those very rules. In shielding a group of rogue government employees, the court inadvertently weakened the public's First Amendment rights. Ari Cohn, Free Speech Counsel at Tech Freedom, an advocacy group focused on technology and the First Amendment, said this, quote, "What's particularly stunning here is that the people who wrote the training were able to correctly synthesize the law and conclude that the officers' actions violated a constitutional right. To rule that qualified immunity protects them, even though their department correctly pieced together the clearly established law to train them that such conduct is unlawful, simply because a court, namely the Supreme Court, hadn't ruled on that particular fact pattern is extreme judicial hubris." However,
that's a very kind way of saying it.
The Supreme Court agreed, with the lower court. They backed them up. And they mentioned the 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and 11th circuits have all acknowledged a First Amendment right to film the police. Had those officers misbehaved in a location subject to one of those federal circuit courts, they wouldn't have been so lucky.
And that first district is the Glick decision. Right?
Yeah, I think Garrick also had a very similar case here in New Hampshire. And while the 10th Circuit acknowledged that the Denver Police Department's training invoked a constitutional right to film the police, they danced around, meaning the court danced around coming to any conclusion on that subject. Quote, "We do not consider nor opine on whether Mr. Frazier had actually had a First Amendment right to record the police performing their official duties in public spaces," unquote. Leaving officers in that jurisdiction free to violate the public's rights in the same way, again, without fear of recourse. They didn't even address the question.
To respond to the last thing you said there, it's like they don't recognize him having the right. Well, does he have a camera and does he have a heartbeat? That is all you need. You are a living human being. Your rights are ordained by your birth, and we don't need no government, no constitution, nothing to tell us that we have this right. It's because you are a living sovereign being.
And that's it. And there's a reason why they didn't consider that question, because they could just say, well, qualified immunity, and we don't have to answer the other questions in the appeal, because that's not their obligation. You can bring up different things in an appeal, as I understand it. I'm not an attorney, but if you bring up different points, the court can just pick one point and make the ruling based on that one point and ignore all of the other things that you brought up in that point. Oh, well, qualified immunity, so therefore we don't have to decide whether there was a First Amendment question here.
I had a cop say to me, and I recently had a trial for it, but it's too bad that he didn't get on the stand, because he said, F your constitutional rights.
Oh.
He lost his qualified immunity right there, didn't he? That's what I think, because he's completely destroying his oath of office of who he is and what he does. And I cannot believe this is not something that they wanted to bring brought up in court. And there's a reason why I can't really go into it. But there's a reason why that didn't bring brought up.
And we got more coming up here, and your calls and thoughts are welcome. That's not the only bad U.S. Supreme Court decision. We've got another one coming up here. Actually, a couple more decisions from Reuters about more qualified immunity, actually. And we'll talk about it on the way here. The number 603-283-6160. They're backing up the police in excessive force cases. We'll tell you more about that in Hour 3 on the way.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Brute force, intransigent defiance, adamantine will. These are the hallmarks of the AI tank. These gigantic machines have the firepower of an army, but they also have their own sense of honor and duty. When the world breakers arrive, battle will be joined, planets will shake, and war and peace will never be the same again. World Breakers. Stories from David Weber, Larry Correa, and more. Available August 3rd from BaneBooks.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. The U.S. inquiry into January's attack on the Capitol building by pro-Trump supporters is gathering information from people closely connected with former Vice President Mike Pence. The inquiry is trying to establish if Donald Trump had prior knowledge of the riot in which 5 people died. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
At least 5 members of Mike Pence's inner circle are said to be cooperating with the congressional committee that's heading up the inquiry. According to CNN, some of them are willing to testify and provide information on how the former president tried to push his vice president to overturn the election result in Trump's favor. The committee has already subpoenaed Pence's former national security advisor, Keith Kellogg. Meanwhile, Trump is trying to block the release of hundreds of pages of documents and internal memos. A judge has ruled the investigating committee can see them. The president's lawyers are trying to prevent that from happening.
The tech sector rallied Thursday after inflation concerns fueled a sell-off on Wall Street earlier in the week. But weak earnings from Disney were a drag on the Dow Jones Industrial Index. FSN's William Denzelo reports from New York.
Wednesday's consumer price index was up 6.2% in October compared to the year before. That's the highest level in around 30 years, and inflation concerns continue to linger on Wall Street. But investors largely shrugged off those fears Thursday. The S&P was up a fraction, and the Nasdaq closed up 0.5%, but the Dow closed the day down 0.4%. There was no economic data out Thursday, and investors turned their attention to corporate earnings. Disney closed the day down around 7% after disappointing earnings results. Subscriber numbers for its streaming platform came in shy of analyst expectations.
California is extending its state of emergency over the coronavirus pandemic as cases continue to rise across the western U.S. California's Governor Gavin Newsom has warned that the winter could bring another surge of COVID-19 cases to the state.
Around this time last year, case rates, positivity rates, hospitalization rates, ICU numbers start to increase.
Now, following months of decline, infections and hospitalizations have plateaued and are rising in certain areas. The state's public health department is strongly encouraging people to get vaccine booster shots. noting in a letter that vaccine providers should let patients themselves decide if they qualify based on their own assessment of possible risk. A U.S. judge has given final approval of a $626 million settlement for people affected by the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. The city declared a state of emergency in 2015 after the Environmental Protection Agency said it had found dangerous levels of lead in the city's water. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, taking another look today at the migrant crisis along the Belarusian border with Poland. Thousands of people have massed there in an effort to seek resettlement in the European Union. But who are they? Where did they come from? And how did they get there?
These people came from different countries, from Lebanon, from Syria. Also, there are some Afghanis there.
Franek Vyachorka is a senior advisor to Belarusian opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya.
They bought the tour packages, and right now they are waiting to be delivered to the border. They are also hostages. They are also victims of Lukashenko's regime because they believed he can really deliver them to Germany, but it didn't happen. They just became the weapon against the EU.
With the crisis intensifying, he says the Belarusian opposition is doing all it can to ensure the EU now holds President Alexander Lukashenko accountable.
It's very important that the EU countries will stay united and will make a very strong response to Lukashenko. This is the guy who understands only the language of force. So we hope on Monday there will be a strong round of sanctions, and we hope the US also will support the sanctions.
He's been speaking from Prague, where he's been lobbying Czech officials. Svetlana Tikhanovskaya herself is in Germany, meeting the country's incoming Chancellor, Olaf Scholz. Humanitarian conditions at the border are rapidly worsening. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. The U.S. inquiry into January's attack on the Capitol building is gathering information from people closely connected with former Vice President Mike Pence. The tech sector rallies after inflation concerns fueled a sell-off on Wall Street earlier in the week. And California extends its state of emergency over the coronavirus pandemic as cases continue to rise across the western U.S. That is the latest feature story news. Ira Spitzer reporting.
A new Gallup poll found that the GOP has an overwhelming advantage among young people who look like old men. The poll shows Republicans hold a solid lead among the coveted elderly youth demographic, including 18 to 24-year-olds who wear suspenders and bow ties to class every day. I'm joined by Republican strategist Rob Powell. These are pretty encouraging numbers for the GOP, aren't they?
Yeah, of course, it's very encouraging. Millennials who look like they're permanently dressed for boat trips are a rapidly growing segment of the population.
And according to the survey, the prematurely aged are also very politically active.
Absolutely. Only about 20% of young people vote overall, but there's almost 100% turnout among youth that dress like a dad from a 1950s sitcom.
Now, what about the criticism that the GOP only appeals to white men?
Not true. We also have a lot of support among sorority girls that wear pantsuits and pearls, paunchy Chinese college students, and we're making inroads among African American ham radio enthusiasts.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live, open phones. You can take control of the airwaves here. Bring up whatever you want. The number is 603-283-6160. We got more of the U.S. Supreme Court backing up the police accused of excessive force. So once again, Supreme Court doing its job and helping the state and running roughshod over your rights. We got more on that coming up with you tonight. It's Ian,
Matt, and Joa.
Of course, we're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts. You can bring up whatever is on your mind. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Whether it's Kyle Rittenhouse trial, which we opened the show talking about tonight. And again, that turns out it's actually in state court, not federal court. So that explains why there's so much video that you can get of this particular trial. Because if it was in federal court, all you would get was what we got out of the Ross Ulbricht trial, which is like one sketch from the artist every day.
How ridiculous.
That's literally it. And the only thing you can bring into a federal court is a pencil and a piece of paper if you're with the news media. No
what if I bring
laptops.
like two colored pencils?
They might let you. Okay. I don't know if you have to get a permit for an extra color, though, from the federal court. We go, though, to your calls and thoughts here. We got Epicurus. He's on the line in New Hampshire. Calling from, I think, Manchester. Go ahead, Epicurus.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I'll keep it brief. So you guys are kind of familiar with the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, right?
Yeah, actually, Matt's been watching it pretty closely over the last couple of weeks.
Okay. Well, I haven't been watching it for about that long, but I've been watching it for a few days, and I watched what happened here today. I've been watching it on YouTube, the Law and Crime Network, and I think I noticed something that a lot of people aren't really talking about yet. So the video on YouTube, it's about the 2 hour and 3 minute mark, 2 hours and 4 minutes, something like that. The prosecution, I think it's about noon today. The prosecution is questioning a forensics video expert from Oregon. And during that time, I think the prosecutor kind of slipped up doing this. He kind of, it's not in his best interest. But he had the forensics expert zoom in and play the video of what happened with Kyle on the second incident that they're referring to, involving Anthony Huber and that guy Gage Grosskreutz. Mm-hmm. So he zoomed in as Anthony Huber was hitting Kyle with his skateboard, and because he's zooming in, this is the first time. I think it's the first time a lot of people have seen this. You can actually see that this guy Anthony with his skateboard not only grabs Kyle's rifle, you can see, since it's zoomed in, you can see the rifle being pulled away from Kyle, which fits Kyle's testimony that he could feel the sling slipping off his shoulder. But you can also actually see Kyle sliding on the ground because this guy Anthony Huber is pulling him with so much force. You could see Kyle actually just completely sliding sideways.
I did not get to see that. I was driving when I was watching it, so I didn't get to see that detail. I wish I had now that you're talking.
I have it up on my phone right now, but I don't know how long it's going to be. But
okay, so Kyle was so this guy was trying to take Kyle's rifle from him and dragging Kyle via the rifle, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely 100% clear.
Oh yeah, Joe is showing it on his phone right now. Yeah, he's getting pulled around. Look at that.
Yeah, so it's unequivocal to me. Now that we can zoom in, because this forensics expert is able to do that, you could see. It's obvious. The guy had his rifle, and to me, it's unequivocally obvious that that it was completely justified for Kyle to shoot this guy who had just struck him in the head and was pulling his rifle so hard that he was dragging him across the street.
Wow.
That said, now that we're talking about it, and as a gun dude, I just want to get on my soapbox a little bit about buying cheap equipment for your loadouts. People don't buy. Kyle Rittenhouse said that they stopped at a local sporting goods store and bought cheap slings. Please don't buy cheap slings. The sling is an important part of the gun. If you're gonna buy a Blue Force Gear Vickers sling or something, it's $40 and worth every single penny. They're not cheap. Buy good contact points for the gun. Make sure you can be pulled around by the gun and not have it leave your body. You don't want that thing breaking off the gun and somebody else getting your gun. You should be able to hang off a mountainside by that sling. So that's
it's a good point. That's all I had to say. I just want to mention that because I don't think a lot of people have saw that.
No, that was a great observation. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. That's really interesting. I'm going to rewatch that as soon as the show's over tonight. I'm going to go do that.
Thanks, Epicurus. Anything else you want to share?
That's it. Thanks.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the call. Again, open phones here. You can bring up what you want. The number is 603-283-6160. Let's talk to Doc calling from an undisclosed location surrounded by cats. Go ahead, Doc. Oh, you sound very far away, Doc. I don't know what happened to your call. You were very clear earlier when I screened the call. Are you still with us? I sure am. All right, I'm going to have to put you back on hold because it is no good.
We can hardly hear her.
Yeah, no good for putting on the air. So we'll try her again here in a little bit. 603-283-6160. So another Supreme Court case. This story from Reuters. I've been holding on to this for a couple weeks. Since you brought one in, Joe, tonight, I figured we'd follow up with some more bad news. Where the Supreme Court recently in October signaled it is not retreating from its inclination to grant qualified immunity to police accused in lawsuits of using excessive force, ruling in favor of the officers in two different cases. One from California, another in Oklahoma. The justices overturned their lower court's decisions, allowing a trial in a lawsuit against officers Josh Girdner and Brandon Vick over the 2016 fatal shooting of a hammer-wielding man in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. They also overturned a lower court's decision to deny a request by police officer Daniel Rivas Villegas for qualified immunity in a lawsuit accusing him of using excessive force in 2016 while handcuffing a suspect in Union City, California. The brief rulings were unsigned with no public dissents among the justices in the cases. Both decided without oral argument. So the Supreme Court didn't even want to hear from the defense in this case, or in either case. The qualified immunity defense protects police and other government officials from civil litigation, permitting lawsuits only when an individual's clearly established constitutional or statutory rights have been violated. The rulings indicated that the justices think lower courts are denying qualified immunity too frequently in police excessive force cases, having previously chided appeals courts on that issue in recent years. So the Supreme Court is saying to these courts, hey, you guys are taking away qualified immunity too often. You courts are actually allowing police in some cases to be sued. And we, the Supreme Court, are saying you shouldn't be doing that. You need to grant our officers qualified immunity every time.
So you're saying even when they're obviously clearly stating and whatever, like that they're violating your rights, like that officer said to me, F the Constitution.
Yep.
That is clear violation of their oath in what they're doing, and they're just blatantly ignoring the law, and they're not, and the Supreme Court doesn't want to hear these things. So like you have to use certain procedures. You have to follow the policy. You got to, you swear an oath to the Constitution. Time to man up and face the music. Come on, Supreme Court, we need you.
I would argue. What did you say earlier? You said that an officer who says something like that's in violation of their oath. I would say if it's an officer who's in violation of their oath to an extent where they're saying F your constitutional rights, I would say that makes them no longer an American.
I would say that their
enemy.
Their duty to office is completely eroded.
People.
Yeah. I think any police officer that is using excessive force or anything like that, move to North Korea. I'll pay for your plane ticket.
Lawyer in the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, Chris Kemet, said, quote, "These are not the actions of a court that is likely to end or seriously reform qualified immunity." In 2020, Reuters revealed how qualified immunity with the Supreme Court's continual refinements has made it easier for police officers to kill or injure civilians with impunity. In the Oklahoma case, police responded to a complaint by the former wife of the slain man, Dominic Rollis, that he was inebriated and in her garage. Officers told the man that they were there not to arrest him, but rather give him a ride out of there, according to court papers, but he refused to go with them. The lower court found the officers then advanced on Rollis, prompting him to back up and grab a hammer that he held above his head and refused to drop. We'll tell you more about the story coming up here in moments, and your calls and thoughts are welcome. Our number is 603-283-6160. You can take control of the airwaves here on Free Talk Live. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
Yep, it's Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want. We're talking about the police getting away with murder and having the Supreme Court back them up. In fact, the Supreme Court overturning lower court decision saying, yeah, the police should be able to be sued in a couple of cases we're talking about. We'll share more with you about those. And, of course, your calls and thoughts are welcome. The number is 603-283-6160. I mean, it's almost impossible to find examples of cases where the courts actually allow police to be held to the standard of, actually facing some sort of a trial, facing some sort of consequences for their actions. Almost never that the cops face consequences for their actions. But yet, there were a couple of cases, one of them in Oklahoma.
And in my case, I'm just going to say, they totally prevented things from coming up in my case.
Absolutely. Now, which case was that?
This was my Worcester arrest when they muscled me out of the police station through my phone, told me to go get it. Right. And I got arrested for trespassing when I went to go get it. Yeah. And I got punched in the chest while handcuffed. Yeah.
Yeah, and that case, what's the status of it right now?
Well, they went from criminal. This is last minute. I waited 2 years for a jury trial, and last minute they changed the criminal charges of disorderly conduct and trespass to civil charges.
Who even knew that they could do that? I've never even heard of that before.
Common law in Massachusetts, I guess they can get away with this stuff. And because I did this, I couldn't have a couple witnesses on the stand. I just got the testimony from the arresting officer, which he admitted on the stand that my trespass charge really shouldn't have been really stuck. He didn't admit like that, but it was more like he found out later that I was ordered to go get my phone over there, so I would never have gotten the trespass or the disorderly
if they hadn't.
And the judge didn't care. He just ruled against me, railroaded the whole case.
So you lost, quote unquote, the civil case.
Yeah, I did, and it's just
does that mean you don't have to pay them now?
I have no fines. I do have. It's not going to go against my Corey check and that sort of thing. But if I do have a record in Massachusetts because of this, and it's blighted. As in, they put a little description about it, and it's making me sound like I'm anti-cop or something. And this is absolutely grotesque what they're doing. And
you're just pro accountability. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, the judge completely brought up facts that didn't matter, didn't bring up the facts that did matter. I got railroaded. Absolutely railroaded.
But there's no fine.
No, nothing.
Isn't that normally what happens in a civil case? Is there some sort of monetary damages that are issued to the winning party?
Nothing. It was fascinating.
That's weird.
I don't even think these can be considered. How can you get trespass and disorderly criminal charges reduced to civil? These are not civil charges. It doesn't make any sense at all.
It sounds really kangaroo.
Oh yeah. They did this to everyone else that was about to have jury trial this day. There was 5 cases.
Weird.
They were ready to pick jury trials, and they just basically either verbally muscled them out and made them sign agreements. I would not back down, and because I would not back down, they lowered the charges to civil, and that way I couldn't have my day in court.
No jury.
You got it.
All right, we're going to continue. We'll tell you more about what happened with the Supreme Court basically backing up violent cops who killed people. But let's first go. We're going to give Doc another try here. She called in from another line. Doc, are you with us?
Yep.
All right.
And audible. Yeah.
We got you now. Go ahead. What's on your mind tonight?
Cool. You will not win.
Huh? What does that mean?
You think that I'm something that I am not.
Who will not win?
Evil incarnate.
Okay.
Yeah. So, a few nights ago, I tried to call in. My friend Aria tried to piece it together. At the time of this broadcast, my friends in New Hampshire, who I want here, who serve true Team Freedom, who are listening in, who are tuned in, who hear my words and hear my passion. Friends, I don't know if Aria is dead or alive.
Huh?
I don't know if the dude I'm in love with is dead or alive.
What is that supposed to mean? I mean, I just heard from Aria tonight.
What is that supposed to... Shut the fuck up.
Okay, you can't say that on the radio. And that's the reason why we dropped your call earlier this week.
Oh, she swore earlier this week,
Yeah,
too?
she said the S word earlier this week.
I'm giving you permission to speak on your show.
Thanks. I appreciate that. The number here is 603-283-6160. Yeah, you can't say those words. We are a radio show. We're doing a broadcast, which means the F word, the S word.
Was that
the
who I
C word.
think it was? Was that what's going on there?
I don't know.
Don't know. 603-283-6160. Whoever she is, she's got a difficulty expressing herself. She kind of gets a little bit lost in whatever it is she's trying to say.
She does seem passionate. I'll give her that.
Yeah,
And
definitely passionate.
I would say, whatever is bothering you, focus that energy into something good.
Hopefully. So back to the story here from Reuters about the 2 Supreme Court cases where they backed up the police. They overturned lower courts that had said that the police, in 2 cases of violence, police violence, that these lower courts said, yeah, these officers, they don't deserve qualified immunity for what they did. And the Supreme Court says, oh, yeah, they do. Case overturned. And so here's a quick summary from Reuters of these cases. Oklahoma, you got a man who is drunk in a garage of his ex-wife. She calls the cops on him. Cops there tell him, okay, we're not going to arrest you. We only just want to give you a ride out of there. He refused to go with the police. They refused to accept their ride. A lower court found the officers then advanced on the man, prompting him to back up and grab a hammer that he held above his head and refused to drop. When the man appeared to raise the hammer further, 2 of the officers fired multiple times, killing him. A third officer had decided that the situation called for him to go, quote, less lethal by putting his firearm in his holster and instead using his stun gun. So one of the 3 officers on the scene had some level of sanity and figured, oh, this guy's just drunk. I don't need to shoot him to death. But the other 2 shot him to death. Rawles's estate sued the 2 cops who shot him, accusing them of using excessive force in violation of the U.S. Constitution's Fourth Amendment prohibition on unreasonable searches and seizures. The police said they used the force because they feared the man would charge at them or throw the hammer. The Denver-based 10th Circuit Court of Appeals in 2020 denied the officers qualified immunity, finding that they may have unjustifiably escalated the situation. Gee, you think? They did close in on the man in this particular situation. And we've seen plenty of cases where the police seem to be trained to escalate situations rather than de-escalate.
Oh, absolutely.
them.
And, I believe that it doesn't matter who they are, if it's police or not. And I don't like violence in general, but if people are coming onto your property illegally, you have the right to defend yourself. And for him raising that hammer or whatever,
this may not have been his property. That's not clear in this story.
Well, he has the right to his life.
They told him they were just offering him a ride.
Yeah.
Right? And he was like, no, thanks. I'm fine. Just drunk in this
go
garage.
Away. Right. Go away. I don't want your ride.
Right. The Supreme Court declined to decide, quote, whether recklessly creating a situation that requires deadly force can itself violate the Fourth Amendment, instead saying that no prior case had clearly established that the officer's actions were illegal. And in the other case...
Hey, well, slavery was legal, guys.
It sure was. The number here, 603-283-6160. You can bring up anything you want. We'll tell you a little bit more about the second of these 2 excessive force cases. The Supreme Court backed up the police and said, no, it's fine. You can kill these guys. You have no liability for your actions.
Nutty.
This is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. You can bring up what's on your mind.
And now, time for something totally different. Intercoin is a project that's working to make crypto mainstream. We use the power of smart contracts to help any community in the world launch their own cryptocurrency. Ever wanted to release your own coin or build your own app to grow your business? Intercoin's team builds apps that have reached 9 million people around the world. And now it's time to help make a real social impact in your local community. Go to intercoin.org and join the movement. That's intercoin.org.
When we first started Intercoin about 3 years ago, we had a big vision to help every community in the world have access to the same tools that large states and federations do, to hold local elections on the blockchain, to have their own local currency, shop local, hire local, and help fight the forces of globalization that have decimated some of these communities.
Go to intercoin.org and join the movement.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. The U.S. inquiry into January's attack on the Capitol building by pro-Trump supporters is gathering information from people closely connected with former Vice President Mike Pence. The inquiry is trying to establish if Donald Trump had prior knowledge of the riot in which 5 people died. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
At least 5 members of Mike Pence's inner circle are said to be cooperating with the congressional committee that's heading up the inquiry. According to CNN, some of them are willing to testify and provide information on how the former president tried to push his vice president to overturn the election result in Trump's favor. The committee has already subpoenaed Pence's former national security advisor, Keith Kellogg. Meanwhile, Trump is trying to block the release of hundreds of pages of documents and internal memos. A judge has ruled the investigating committee can see them. The president's lawyers are trying to prevent that from happening.
The tech sector rallied Thursday after inflation concerns fueled a sell-off on Wall Street earlier in the week. But weak earnings from Disney were a drag on the Dow Jones Industrial Index. FSN's William Denzelo reports from New York.
Wednesday's consumer price index was up 6.2% in October compared to the year before. That's the highest level in around 30 years, and inflation concerns continue to linger on Wall Street. But investors largely shrugged off those fears Thursday. The S&P was up a fraction, and the Nasdaq closed up 0.5%, but the Dow closed the day down 0.4%. There was no economic data out Thursday, and investors turned their attention to corporate earnings. Disney closed the day down around 7% after disappointing earnings results. Subscriber numbers for its streaming platform came in shy of analyst expectations.
California is extending its state of emergency over the coronavirus pandemic as cases continue to rise across the western U.S. California's Governor Gavin Newsom has warned that the winter could bring another surge of COVID-19 cases to the state.
Around this time last year, case rates, positivity rates, hospitalization rates, ICU numbers start to increase.
Now, following months of decline, infections and hospitalizations have plateaued and are rising in certain areas. The state's public health department is strongly encouraging people to get vaccine booster shots, noting in a letter that vaccine providers should let patients themselves decide if they qualify based on their own assessment of possible risk. A U.S. judge has given final approval of a $626 million settlement for people affected by the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. The city declared a state of emergency in 2015 after the Environmental Protection Agency said it had found dangerous levels of lead in the city's water. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You're invited if you want to join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Open phones, as always. You can bring up whatever's on your mind. Tonight, it's Ian,
Matt, and Joa.
We're going to continue talking about the U.S. Supreme Court backing up the cops, which is basically their job. It's very rare that they will actually make a ruling in favor of freedom or in favor of the individual, in favor of individual rights. No, they're backing up the police, saying, yeah, you guys can shoot and kill a drunk man in a garage who simply held a hammer over his head, even though you were the ones that advanced on him, even though you closed in and forced him to feel like he was being threatened because you had guns drawn on him.
There really is no separation between the executive branch and the judicial branch. No. The three branches of government in general are basically a facade.
Yeah, the whole idea that there's a check and balance between them is ridiculous.
It's one big glob. They're all homies. They all hang out.
Well, they're, I don't know if I can say it. They're circle and
pleasuring
pleasuring themselves
circularly. So we got more here on this story, and also I do want to say thank you to Chris LaRue, who is a Free Talk Live Diamond level new Free Talk Live Amps member. He's over on our new Patreon that we launched a couple of weeks ago. So thank you, Chris, for joining the new Amps program. You can do that over at amps.freetalklive.com. That's amps.freetalklive.com, and you can sign up there and get some perks, get some benefits that we appreciate you for doing. And one of those things, we'll give you a shout out on the air. You don't have to use your real name, by the way. Patreon lets you put in a screen name or a username. So if you don't want us to say your real name, you can just put in whatever you want us to say, which is pretty cool. So check it out, amps.freetalklive.com. So there were two cases that the Supreme Court accepted. I remember earlier we were talking about a case that the Supreme Court rejected because they didn't want to have to hear this case. The lower court ruled in the favor of the police. So the Supreme Court said, all right, well, fine. The lower court ruled in favor of the cops being awful, and in this case it was stealing a camera from a man and trying to delete his footage.
They didn't, though.
Of them beating a man. And so the Supreme Court said, well, we don't need to hear this case because the lower court ruled how the Supreme Court wanted them to. But in these two cases where the cops hurt and or killed people, the Supreme Court, the lower courts actually ruled against the police. They ruled that the police could be held liable, in theory, for these actions. And so the Supreme Court took the cases on, reversed the lower court decisions, and went in favor of the cops. The second case is the California case. The justices ruled in favor of the cop in this particular case. Cop's name was Rivas Villegas. This case involved the arrest of a man named Ramon Cortes Luna at his home. The officer, Rivas Villegas, used his foot to push the man down and then pressed his knee into the man's back while another officer handcuffed him. The San Francisco-based 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals had ruled that the man, his excessive force claim, could go to trial. So he's not dead, thank goodness, noting that the suspect had been prone and not resisting. So the Circuit Court of Appeals said, hey, this guy, he was down. He wasn't resisting you. You could have just handcuffed him. You used excessive force against him. This can go to trial. Supreme Court said, no, it can't.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So there's your
actually
your
totally
update.
believable.
Yeah.
Totally believable.
That's where we're at.
Oh, I believe it. I believe that there is this wave going in the opposite direction of our freedom, slowly but surely. And this is a reason why we need to get out of the United States.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, we need New Hampshire independence, and we can just give the federal government the big middle finger.
Right. Now, that's not to say that the New Hampshire Supreme Court is any better than the federal Supreme Court, but at least here we have some accountability. At least here you can know where these people live. Now, I'm not saying, violence is the solution. In fact, I want a peaceful independence movement. But we have protested out in front of the governor's house here. And we've protested in front of the attorney general's house here in New Hampshire. And I couldn't tell you where the Supreme Court of New Hampshire or the United States lives, or where the Attorney General of the United States lives, and how much money would it cost to go to their house. Who the hell knows? Thousands of dollars.
If you went anywhere near it, you'd probably be carted off by you get black bagged in a heartbeat. Probably.
Right here in front of the Attorney General's house, it's a few yokels from the Hinsdale Police Department or something like that, or whatever they come out. It's no big.
Is that where Attorney General lives in Hinsdale?
No, it wasn't Hinsdale. It was Hillsborough. Which
Hillsborough.
Probably worse.
That's why the Hillsborough police is so bad.
They're bad. They are bad.
Hinsdale's an interesting choice.
But they were on their best behavior with us because we have video cameras.
Right.
So it completely changed how they handled that
situation. I like to think the camera puts cops in check.
It certainly does, unless, of course, they are totally out of control and willing to steal your camera and smash it on the ground or whatever.
Or use physical intimidation like our friend Dick Tracy did the other day.
Dick Tracy, do you want to talk a little bit about old Dick?
Sure. I mean, this is possible voter law violation to the person who you file complaints to about voter violations.
He works for the Justice Department.
That's right.
He's literally the investigator for the Justice Department. One of them, they got a few, is actually named Richard Tracy. No joke.
Stop.
Seriously.
Yep.
Oh my God!
Yep. And I saw him like a couple days before, and then he just runs into me, and he already knew my name apparently, which I was like, oh, how'd you know
researching.
that? Yeah, good. Yeah, well, I hope you're watching my videos.
He's detecting.
Yeah, and so I went to a polling station. I actually went to 6 polling stations for the election the other day.
Right, and you had no issue at any of them except or until this one. So you'd already gone to a few of them, right?
Well, the issue is a little bit more predominant at this one. I did have one other issue, but the police corrected the moderator, and they never showed up like he said they would. And I even clarified with the police; they're fine. But this particular location, I think it was Ward 3. I'm not sure in Manchester. And the moderator didn't like me being there.
You just walked in with a video camera into what is ostensibly a public area.
Correct. And the moderator was saying I got to go to the observation area, and I believe that anywhere that there wasn't the guardrail according to the rules, which I read the rules, and I established that there was a guardrail kind of set up, and there's tables kind of blocking away, I guess long story short, Dick Tracy.
Yeah, because this is like a 2-hour-long video.
Yeah, he was being very crass. You said it was very entertaining. I really
it was. Yeah. Bonnie and I were watching it a couple nights ago.
Yeah, Dick Tracy was being very crass, and he tried to walk in my path once, and I was like, "Look, if I stop right now, you're going to stop? You're not going to walk into me?" And he's like, "Yes," and I was like, "Stopped." And I did that right before I'd go into the observation area, which is like around a corner, and you can't observe anything they're doing. So how is it observation area? It's just a joke. But I eventually after his...
Well, it didn't seem like it was around a corner to me. There were
like
a couple
like
old
a wall
ladies
separator there.
Was there? I
yeah. You can't see what any of them are doing, which is like, unless you're a challenger, you can't actually see anything that's happening.
It was really entertaining because before Dick showed up, they actually had like the city clerk himself came in because he's the guy that runs the whole thing, right? Like in cities in New Hampshire, it's the city clerk's office that runs the elections section or whatever.
And so he was very crass himself.
Oh yeah, he gets up in your face.
Yep.
He closes whatever gap because it's always funny and you've I'm sure seen this a million times, but I've certainly done my share of recording. And anytime somebody comes up and accuses you of like getting in their face, they always are the ones that come up close to you. They're always the ones that close whatever gap there is.
I've respected the rules completely, and I guess they came up with an article saying that I'm being investigated by the Attorney General. I don't think they are anymore because I didn't do anything wrong. I'm sure they reviewed
would have
it.
arrested you by now.
Right. And what they were doing was against the law. That I wasn't able to see the number count of how many people voted, and I think that's
something
public
that
information.
The media records all the time.
Absolutely. How do they get this on the news, and they can give you updates of how many people voted and such? And I made sure I got it at least once, and I didn't go like past this invisible guardrail until I saw that there was no one voting. So I didn't go into that area. I put my camera down. You can see that in the feed. I walked over and I just the former Democratic Party chair or head was blocking me from seeing the voter count.
Shocker.
I'm not surprised, but
shocker.
Just the behavior of these bureaucrats is absolutely ridiculous. It's completely anti-independent media. Because if you'd been WMUR9, they'd have taken your hand and given you a tour around the whole room.
Absolutely.
Get you a cup of coffee or have a sandwich.
One last thing is I went down to the DOJ AG's office and I filed a complaint against Dick Tracy for physical intimidation and being crass.
I bet that's going to go right in the circular file.
Yeah, no, I believe it's going to go right to the top of the list.
Yeah, right. 603-283-6160. We got time for you if you want to jump on the lines here. 603-283-6160. You can take control of the airwaves. It's Free Talk Live. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive. toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything you want here. The number is 603-283-6160. Got enough time for you. Maybe if you get on the line right now, the number again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Matt, and Joa.
And if you want to check out Joa's video where he's at this polling location, head over to Breaking the Flaw. There's a Odyssey channel and a YouTube channel. And what is it called? Do you remember what that video
well, I did an update on it, so you'll see like Attorney General investigating me, or it would be the polling station part 2.
From like what, last Tuesday?
Yeah, last week, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So check that out. Pretty entertaining. You get to see old Dick, Dick Tracy, literally, that's his name. He's the investigator who I had an encounter with a decade ago at the Justice Department.
Yeah, still hasn't changed his name?
He was born with that name, presumably.
My God, I would probably try to. You know what? I bet he was the first person in the state to buy an Apple Watch when they came out.
Yeah, maybe so. When I encountered him, the name, no joke, some of this stuff you just can't make up. Like the city manager in Keene, New Hampshire's name is Dragon.
I know.
And then the attorney general. This is not the current attorney general's name, but at the time when I first met Dick Tracy, the attorney general's name, no joke, Richard Head.
Stop!
I'm not kidding.
I can't take this.
I'm not kidding. For real.
Oh man,
you can't make it up.
Oh my God.
All right, so we go back to your calls and thoughts here. Let's talk Thomas. He's listening in California to K-Talks. Go ahead, Thomas.
Hey, good enough. I was thinking about judges you mentioned. Why don't we hold them to the same standards that we all live up to?
How are you going to do that?
Know, put them in jail if they break the law.
Well, why would the police, who the judges are upholding and backing up on their violence and their illegal, unconstitutional acts, why would the police turn against any judge and put them in jail?
Yeah. Good question.
I got hit with a face full of something right there.
You can't smell that.
So that's what a light bulb sounds like when it goes on.
Thanks, Thomas, for the call tonight. Let's go to a different Thomas. This one's calling from Keene, New Hampshire. You're on Free Talk Live. I think this is the one from the jail paper Keene. Go ahead, Thomas.
I guess. How's it going, sir? Thank you for having me on the air tonight.
You sound way more sober than the last Thomas that called in a moment ago. Go ahead.
I know, but I'm getting there. I have about 5 or 6 drinks on deck. But I promise to behave. I promise to stay within the confines of my good conduct bond. But I had cold tonight because I actually want to confess a conspiracy.
Really?
Let's have it.
It's a conspiracy that you guys may be interested in.
Okay.
But now I'm armed with a strategic reserve of about 15 pounds of chalk. And what I'm working on is that this week I will be getting a permit by tomorrow to chalk a specific area of the city of Keene, New Hampshire, of anti-mayoral statements about cutting out smoking in a bar.
Hold on a second. You a permit? You don't get a permit for chalking?
Technically, right now, Ian, I'm on bond. If I catch one more violation and don't get a permit, I'm going to jail.
Well, now, wait a minute. Is there such a thing as a permit for chalking? I mean, where do you get that permit?
What I'm going to do is this. Technically, the city of Keene knows that I do protests against a local homeless shelter referred to as 100 Nights on every Friday between 5 and 7. But the only problem is that every time I do it, I catch a mysterious code that I don't need to repeat, but it's a mysterious town ordinance violation that if I get one more of them while I'm on ROR bond for my court violation for stalking, I'll go directly to jail. So I'm going to talk other people into doing it for me.
So therefore, it's a conspiracy because other people are involved. Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, basically, you were nice enough in 2018 to give me about 20 pounds of chalk. I used about 5. I've weighed it. I have about 14.5 pounds. I'm going to throughout the city of Keene, and they're going to be in a nightmare, but you'll enjoy it. It's going to be beautiful.
Well, just FYI, it's supposed to rain tomorrow, so that chalk will get washed right away. Like,
yeah, but that's excellent because then they can't say that it's basically the last time, gentlemen, they brought what looked like a small bulldozer and a 300-gallon water tote to be able to use a water hose to get rid of all my chalking against the mayor, George Hansel, and pro-area, pro-Boston Parisi, pro-Jody Newell slogans of people that the mayor doesn't like.
Well, if you stand on the chalk and they try to wash it off while you're standing there, you could get them for assault.
Dude, I love that. I might lay down. I might take a nap with the rabbit.
Hey, I'll draw a chalk outline of you while you're laying down.
Yes, I love it. I can do that. But no, I'm glad you guys didn't have me on, but I only have a little battery. But I look forward to talking and telling you about my public confession of conspiring to chalk.
I love this.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Thomas.
Fantastic.
People can check you out at thejailpaperkeen.com. You post some of your videos there, and I appreciate the call tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks for the call,
I
man.
love activists like that.
Yeah, good stuff. He's not even a free stater. He's just a local.
That's
activist.
even better.
Yeah, he's just
God
a local,
bless his soul.
He's just a local police accountability guy.
See, we have those here.
Yep.
If you move to New Hampshire, there's already some of those here who aren't even. They were born here.
Actually, he wasn't born here. He came from Miami. But he's great. He gets out there and he does his thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your service. So the number here is 603-283-6160. There was a whole war on chalk several years ago.
Oh yeah, I remember
here.
Mariah. She did those beautiful murals, those big chalk murals, and they came away
absolutely
scrubbing them off.
Incredible murals.
Incredible.
And a lunatic, local lunatic guy, actually lived originally from Massachusetts. Came up every single day. We called him Boston Strong because the very first time he was in the park. So here in Keene, there's what they call Central Square. It's kind of like the center of downtown. It's where everything happens, protests and weddings and whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's where the chalking was primarily going on. And so this local crazy, this local plumber guy comes by and starts erasing, getting a bucket of water from the park water fountain or whatever, the sculpture that they have there, and just starts washing away this chalk. So he had a Boston Strong shirt, so we started calling him Boston Strong. Turns out the dude lived 4 houses away from this studio and was absolutely obsessed with the Free Staters and the liberty activists here in town. Started to come to this park every single day, twice a day, because he'd go, for his plumbing job, you got to get up early for that kind of work, right?
Yeah.
So he's getting up at 6 or 5 or whatever the hell time he got up. He'd get in his truck and head down to Massachusetts for the day, wherever his jobs were. But before he'd leave Keene, he'd go straight to the park, get out of his truck, go check the Central Square for any chalkings, and remove them.
Yeah, didn't their house get put up for sale for tax?
He never paid it. He didn't pay his mortgage at some point, so it got repossessed. But so then he'd come back after he got off of work. So let's say he gets off of work at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. He's coming home. So end of the day, before he goes home, he stops back by the park to make sure that no one had chalked something during the daylight hours, and he removes any chalk.
I got a chalk story for you.
Yeah.
So I was chalking. This was the first day of Occupy down in Providence, Rhode Island, at Burnside Park.
And it was 10 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, I was chalking on the ground, and the next day I offered my chalk to everyone there. We should spread our message everywhere out throughout the city. And I just left it there on the statue, the Burnside statue. And then I went to go back to see if my chalk was being used or whatever. It was stolen, and it was donated to a child care facility, and I confronted the guy that admitted to me that he stole it and gave it away, and that guy is very violent. He actually stole a Gadsden flag, which is ironic too, and he vandalized all my Ron Paul signs that were there. And they also put on the internet, like, because I chalked like at the base of the statue, which is like easily washable. It's like concrete. Sure. They said that I was vandalizing the statue. Yet someone came back the next day and started spray painting the statue. So now it looks like I spray painted the statue.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it was absolutely ridiculous. This guy later on got arrested.
Did you face
there's a great
charges?
video of him online getting tackled by Providence police.
Did they charge you for that?
No, I
for
didn't
the so-called vandalism?
No, this is just their claim they put out there on their Occupy site.
Because they have done that. There was the Chalking 8 in Manchester, New Hampshire, back during the War on Chalk.
The War on Chalk. I forgot all about the War on Chalk.
Yeah, where they actually arrested Damo Freeman from Cop Block, and some of the Keene activists had gone out there. Kate, they got arrested for chalking outside of the Manchester Police Department. So sometimes they will charge you for that stuff, even though it's completely washable. You know, somebody in our chat room on Aria's YouTube channel is claiming vandalism is wrong. This isn't vandalism. This is expressing yourself in a temporary artistic, measure.
One light rain, and it's gone.
It's gone.
Yes, yeah.
But they act like, oh my God, we had to get the fire department out with the blasting hose to get rid of it. You know, it's ridiculous.
Thanks for wasting our resources, right?
Yeah. So out of time for tonight. Back tomorrow. You can join us online. In the meantime, head over to freetalklive.com, grab archives, podcasts, more all there, and check out Breaking the Flaw on YouTube and Odyssey for more of Joa.
Thanks, Ian.
Peace.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
When Monster Hunter International discovers one of Isaac Newton's wardstones being auctioned off, they decide to steal it and use it to destroy the Chaos God once and for all. But a mysterious thief upends their plan, and it soon becomes a race against time as something much older and infinitely more evil awakens in the jungles of South America. Monster Hunter Bloodlines by New York Times bestselling author Larry Correia and Baen Books. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. The U.S. inquiry into January's attack on the Capitol building by pro-Trump supporters is gathering information from people closely connected with former Vice President Mike Pence. The inquiry is trying to establish if Donald Trump had prior knowledge of the riot in which 5 people died. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
At least 5 members of Mike Pence's inner circle are said to be cooperating with the congressional committee that's heading up the inquiry. According to CNN, some of them are willing to testify and provide information on how the former president tried to push his vice president to overturn the election result in Trump's favor. The committee has already subpoenaed Pence's former national security advisor, Keith Kellogg. Meanwhile, Trump is trying to block the release of hundreds of pages of documents and internal memos. A judge has ruled the investigating committee can see them. The president's lawyers are trying to prevent that from happening.
The tech sector rallied Thursday after inflation concerns fueled a sell-off on Wall Street earlier in the week. But weak earnings from Disney were a drag on the Dow Jones Industrial Index. FSN's William Denzelo reports from New York.
Wednesday's Consumer Price Index was up 6.2% in October compared to the year before. That's the highest level in around 30 years, and inflation concerns continue to linger on Wall Street. But investors largely shrugged off those fears Thursday. The S&P was up a fraction, and the Nasdaq closed up 0.5%, but the Dow closed the day down 0.4%. There was no economic data out Thursday, and investors turned their attention to corporate earnings. Disney closed the day down around 7% after disappointing earnings results. Subscriber numbers for its streaming platform came in shy of analyst expectations.
California is extending its state of emergency over the coronavirus pandemic as cases continue to rise across the western U.S. California's Governor Gavin Newsom has warned that the winter could bring another surge of COVID-19 cases to the state.
Around this time last year, case rates, positivity rates, hospitalization rates, ICU numbers start to increase.
Now, following months of decline, infections and hospitalizations have plateaued and are rising in certain areas. The state's public health department is strongly encouraging people to get vaccine booster shots, noting in a letter that vaccine providers should let patients themselves decide if they qualify based on their own assessment of possible risk. A U.S. judge has given final approval of a $626 million settlement for people affected by the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. The city declared a state of emergency in 2015 after the Environmental Protection Agency said it had found dangerous levels of lead in the city's water. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Fans of the Tour de France will be disappointed to hear that the race has been put on hold for an indefinite amount of time, as many of the world's top cyclists are currently riding over to the creek to check out cool bugs. Our Chad Williams is live in Bergerac, France.
Thanks, Rachel. Roads that should be full of bikers are empty this afternoon. Right now, the riders were supposed to be here making the